You're listening to M.T.V.B. Podcast. Movies, TV, video and board games. This show may contain swearing.
Welcome to a brand new episode of the M.T.V.B. podcast, the podcast that talks about my four favourite subjects, that's movies,
TV shows,
video games,
and board games. I'm your host, Anthony, as well as most people know me as the Ant-Man, and welcome. This week's episode is finally going to be a board game episode.
Woo!
Probably the only one for this season, but hey, we got one in. This week's episode, we're going to be talking about our top 5 board games that we had in our childhood. And I'm joined around the table by the guys that love to talk about childhood board games. Introduce yourselves around the table, please.
Hello, my name is Jason. I am from the Meeple Minded podcast.
Oh, I'm Chris. I'm a big fan, and I'm back again.
Big fan who's actually part of M.T.V.B. Bandicoot
I feel
Burn.
like I need a nickname.
Bandicoot Burn, wasn't it?
Bandicoot Burn, yeah. The
On the
Inglorious
PlayStation
Bastard.
episode, remember?
Oh, yeah. The Inglorious Bastard.
We'll take that if you want, mate.
Need to get you an official T-shirt, man.
Yeah.
So we know you're not an official member until you got the T-shirt, are you? Really? That's the way you got to look
I
at
don't
it.
think you're an official member until you have a nickname.
Well, you've got 2 at the moment, so you need to decide
I know,
which one you want.
I've got to pump it. I've got to get the merch out.
But nice, guys. Thank you for coming on the episodes and your top 5 board games as a child. How was the list for you?
Fairly easy,
Yeah?
actually. Yeah. The ones I picked kind of went straight into my head when we talked about this list. They were just instant hits in my head. It's like, what ones do I remember? Because they're going to be the most memorable to me. The list did change a little bit,
Yeah.
I would say. But for the most part, it's been pretty solid. I've not put it in any particular order or anything like that. But,
Okay. But those 5 are, regardless, part of it.
I'm
Yeah?
very happy with it. Like, I had the chance to change this a few more times, and I just haven't. I'm pretty set on this 5. So pretty
Nice.
easy for me.
Nice. Chris, what
Makes a
about you?
change.
It does, actually, yeah.
I found it a bit more difficult in the sense that what I classed as a board game.
I know, because you were sending me pics of does this class as one? Does this class as one?
In my head, in the family home, we get bored and Mum will go and play a board game, which instantly means anything that was stored under my bed.
Right.
And I had what I could have classed as dexterity games.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, fuck. There's a lot of games. I thought I liked board games, but maybe I just like games and toys. And then I started to think, and I was like, oh no, that had a board.
In that category that Jason had as a topical, is it a toy? Is it a board game? sort of thing?
I was like, does battleships count? And I was like, Pop-Up Pirate. That
counts, yeah.
Oh, does it count? Oh, shit. I was like, oh, shit, did these count as board games? And I was like...
I'd say they're part of the board game. I mean, they're in the board game aisle, aren't they?
Probably
when you
was.
go to a toy shop, they're in the board game aisle.
I sent you the wrong... I was like, Buckaroo. And
Buckaroo, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I just sent you the wrong example because I was like, oh, what was that one called? And it was just like, oh, fuck.
So Pop-Up Pirate might go back into your list then.
There's a couple on my list that I think are open to debate whether they fall in that sort of, air quotes, board game category. But, I think, you know what, when I think back to being a kid, genuinely, if my parents ever said, do you want to play a board game? It was like, well, I'm not bored. So,
yeah.
Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, and I did have a lot of board games as such, but there are some that I class as in the same sort, for me, I'll go and get a board game. Because a lot of those I could play on my own, which was a great thing as a kid.
Well, yeah, no, my number 1 is technically in that case as well. It was a board game, but sometimes there are times when people weren't playing with me, I would play it by myself like a toy sort of thing. So, yeah, I see where you're coming from on that one.
Yeah, so I might have to do a bit of
Last minute swap overs.
Or if you go, not a board game, I go, right, wasn't that one?
Quick to the honourable mentions list, pick one of them. Yep, that'll do.
So whilst you're doing
I
that,
might
then,
end up having to do that.
I've kind of got my...
you kind of got you're sticking with it, yeah?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, so whilst you're doing that, then we'll do some questions before we go to the top fives as normal. So the first question is, can you remember the time you first got into board gaming as a kid? Don't have to mention the game itself, but can you remember when it was at all, or the earliest memories of it, your childhood board gaming at all?
I'm amazed if I can remember past last week.
That's fair enough, mate. I'll let you have that.
I'll be honest, it is pretty much one of the earliest sort of, apart from a football, basically, because obviously back in you only had the Argos catalogue.
But do you remember the kids' adverts or anything like that at all?
The kids' adverts were a major selling point and a lot of hype.
Like, I want that for Christmas.
But Christmas and birthdays, it was pretty much a go-to present for like a family member or, aunties, uncles, grandmas, granddads, even my mum and dad. That's why I was like, I have so many good memories of all of these stuff.
Did you ever go through that thing through Christmas where you would play them during the day as a kid, whatever, but in the evenings the adults would get out Trivial Pursuit or something just to because you've got your Christmas toys, now we're going to play a board game, but an adult board
It was
game.
Rummy Cub. Rummy Cub was the adult game in the evening.
Okay. Jace, anything like that for you?
Do you know what? I think my family's favourite game was probably Pictionary.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I do remember that. I remember Trivial Pursuit, but Pictionary is the one that sticks in my mind. That I remember seeing them play. And obviously I could get involved with that one because it was drawing.
Sure. I remember that was like a big fucking box.
It was
for that
monstrous,
as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was huge.
Whereas
really,
you
really
get
big.
like a smaller edition of it now, isn't it? Something like that.
I never, even now, I'm like, why was the box so damn big?
Was,
'Cause
right?
It was like a couple of drawing pads and some pencils.
Yeah, was there cards in there or something?
I
or?
believe there was cards in there.
Right, okay.
But you could easily get that in a much, much smaller box.
Yeah.
But, whatever. So yeah, I think
90s.
Pictionary was definitely. We obviously had Monopoly,
Yeah.
and that was a favourite for the family, and Cluedo,
Yes.
or Clue for the Americans,
Because they can't say the dough
because they can't say dough at the end of Clue. Obviously, I really liked Cluedo as a kid.
I loved Cluedo. Same.
And even now, I kind of still do.
It was those metallic pieces, like the candle. You had a little mini candlestick and a mini gun and whatnot. Yeah.
And we were having a little mini discussion before this. As I don't even mind Monopoly all that much now if it's played properly. But as a kid, we didn't play it properly, so it sucked. So, but yeah, they're the key ones. Obviously, I'm 36 years old. Anybody of my age knows that they're the games we had at the time. So, but Pictionary is probably number one when I think about games my family used to play.
Yeah.
So apart from the Christmas time, was there any other occasion you would get the board games out at all, or
I don't think you if you kind of got pocket money, it was always kind of implied to save, or your own, because I'm July, so I was only ever a few months away from Christmas, but it was never really.
So you're like in the middle of the year, in a way,
Middle of the year, so it was kind of like
you get a board game every 6 months.
I think because you get hyped on the advert so much, and you're like, oh, go have this game, go have this game, go have this. And I might have got some early, but it's not something. If I was getting a sneaky toy, I'm getting like a Transformer figure or like a little figurine or a mask.
Yeah,
like. I'm not really wasting it on a toy that I have to share with my sister. You know what I mean? It's like
I'm spending my money. It's on me.
It's quite a big, chunky. When you try to get, when you take that off the shelf and you put that back.
Yeah.
But then you kind of like,
because the bigger it was, the more expensive.
You're
it
like,
was, right?
hey, just into my hand.
I don't think that I could say we didn't play board games throughout the year.
Yeah.
Because my family were very old school. Because obviously I grew up of the era where computer games and stuff were starting to become a big thing.
Yeah.
But I was heavily restricted on when I could and couldn't play that. And it was very limited on when I could. I was also one of those that I used to love being out and playing football at the park or something like that. So, that was kind of my go-to would have been something like that. But then at the weekends, it's like, well, I wasn't out the whole day playing football. and I only had a certain amount of time to be playing video games. So there was a lot of time to make up, and that's where I found the board games would come out.
Right.
But I would say more so when my brother became more of age, that he could understand the games, because then I had someone I could play the games with without bugging my parents. So I would say later on in my childhood, I would say is when it picked up a bit for me.
I mean, we used to do, because I used to live in Torquay, we used to do like the Newton Abbott car boot sales quite a lot. So I don't know, did you used to do car boots a lot as a kid, sort of thing?
Not where I lived at the time, because I lived in London at the time, so we never really did the whole car boot fine. Yeah, it wasn't safe enough. Yeah,
and the same with like summer phase. Like I remember buying a lot of secondhand, but they were straight up like, there's about 10,000 cards missing. Yeah. And in there, they'd just be like, that cornflake represents the hat out of Monopoly. Like, but you took it back then.
Right.
You know, so there's like many games that I probably, you didn't have the rules, or you pick up bits, or you buy bits to replace bits of your game. So that's the only other time I'd probably buy a game from like not being a birthday present.
Yeah. Like you said, with your pocket money.
Yeah. Because I was always spending on something else. It didn't seem like the go-to.
You weren't cool if you bought board games.
Back in but in that early 90s, you was. These are all, my mates are coming round and I'm going, shall we play?
Yeah.
They're not hiding under the bed.
No.
It's when you get to like closer to or into secondary school that you kind of.
Yeah. So that's literally where I'm going to sway to the next question with that, was because Jason's already brought it up with the whole video game era kicking in when we were roughly in our teens, early late teen wise sort of thing. So did you try to still get them out then, or was you like, no, the video game's a new thing now? It's the new area.
Don't get me wrong. I went with the video games.
Yeah,
like
I have to admit, I did as well.
I took off it, but I still loved the board. But I couldn't. There was a bit where it was embarrassing to say. Maybe not. The problem I had was I moved up here sort of like when I was 13, 14. So I went into like year 7, 8 to secondary school, meeting brand new people.
Yeah.
Down in Torquay, I've grown up. We've played all of those games.
Yeah.
It's not. They'll either say, oh, "Come on, we're not playing that anymore."
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be get the piss ripped out of you. It goes around school that you played baby games or something like that. It was like. So I think my board games kind of died in the sense of me playing it out. I mean, I still played with Matt and Wayne and stuff, but that's when you get the right sort of friends and you sort of you're all in a safe place and you know that you can enjoy the game. But you got those fake ones from school that you kind of like think you're a mate, and then you have a good time, and then
exactly
so
your mates who like the same sort of thing as you do. Yeah.
So I think the older I got, it died out in the sense of I had no one really to play with.
Yeah. And
parents were older. Sister didn't want. Time just made it fizzle out.
That's it. Yeah.
Until we got back, until I met up with Wayne again, and we started playing board games. But that was the reason. Do you want to play a board game? Because I loved board games back in the day. I was straight on it.
It's weird how it's 180 now. Because now with friends, I'd rather play the board games instead of, because I went through a time where I wanted to play two-player video games with kids and with my mates and whatnot. Now I'd rather let's sack off the console. Let's get a board game out. But Jason, you kind of mentioned you had restrictions on your side, but.
Yeah, I mean, I've obviously mentioned that side of the story, but it's fair to say that once video gaming became a really big thing, if friends come over, we weren't playing board games.
Yeah,
that was the time I used for video games. I would say once I got into I'm trying to think of the consoles I had at the time, but the Sega Mega Drive or something like that.
I mean, I want to play Mortal Kombat more than pretty much every game on this list. If you gave me at age, do you want to play Mortal Kombat now? Or one of these games, you kind of like, let's play Mortal Kombat. And we'll play it for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours.
So I wouldn't say it sort of died off really quickly. once the video games had come out. But
it's amazing they've come back.
My life definitely split at that point, because it was like,
because you've done the 180 now, and you're more the board gamer than
hell yeah.
the video gamer.
I haven't turned my Xbox on in probably 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
At this point, I play PC games every now and again, but very,
tabletop
very
doesn't
rarely.
count, mate.
Damn it. Or Game Arena, does that count? But yeah, no, for the most part, I'm not interested in it. You know, I spend all day looking at a screen. You know, I walk around with a screen in my pocket. I don't want to be sat
with even more screen time.
With even more screen time, yeah.
I understand. No,
but I mean, my boy's like 4, and I'm looking at some of this list, and I'm thinking maybe I can get a good copy.
Yeah,
and then because I'm gonna start playing the family games, and he's gonna have his own children, and I'm gonna try and make it that sort of way, you know, where he will want to play board games.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we'll have that sort of, not just video games, but he'd want to play actual games.
Better family time than playing on a console, isn't it, at the end of the day?
What I definitely love with my son is he's gotten to a point, like when he comes to stay with me, you know, he has his Nintendo Switch, he has an Xbox in his room that he can play if he wants to. Yet when he's at mine, he asks to play board games because he doesn't get to do that at home.
And you're like, yes, get
and
in
I'm
there.
Sort of that's my son.
That's it.
Right there, that's my son. I get it, you don't get to do it when he's at home. You know, it doesn't.
Is that when you pick him up and react
often.
the Lion King bit?
Chosen people.
Yeah.
Is it mini people?
Yeah, that's why I've got that big Pride Rock outside my house now.
Circle of life. Last question before we do the top 5s, guys. Do you still own any of these childhood games at all? I own 2 out of my 5.
No.
No?
I think there's a couple of honourable mentions in Sally's pile.
Right.
But not... Because there's a good... Must be a fight where I was ruthless.
Right.
And I was... Not, just get rid of... There's so many toys. And it's like...
Right.
Like I just cried that I just Toy Story them.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And it was like... And I regret that I just thought I was old.
Yeah.
I'm not going to play... That was my... I'm not going to play with him anymore. I didn't see him as a collectible, which I do now, or being able to pass it on to my boy to play.
Yeah.
It was just...
I was quite lucky with the 2 I own now because they were just in my parents' loft, like hidden away somewhere. And then when I moved out, she was like, "Oh, these are still here." And I'm like, "What? Really? I thought these were, like you said, like Toy Story or sell the car boot sale or something." And I was like, so I was very lucky to still have those. So yeah,
you leave in places, or you just, there's an age where the magic just dies for a bit,
which we mentioned earlier. Yeah,
and you get it back the older. Because you're like, oh shit, they were the good times.
It's the nostalgia.
I want to be old. I don't want to be.
I don't want to be old. More like
I don't want to be young. I don't want to be perceived as a young. I want to be an adult. But then you kind of like shove everything that you used to love, and then you just come back to loving it.
This is it.
Yeah,
as always, mate.
I say I don't own any of these. My parents, quite a few of the parents of that age, notoriously didn't get rid of a lot of their stuff. I'm pretty sure a lot of these are probably still shoved in my loft somewhere.
Yeah.
But there's so much stuff up there that I ain't going to go and try and find them.
Don't blame you. But would you, if they were gone, would you want to still own any of them at all? Or, like you said, you might get your son into them or something? Or
there's a couple that I think I would play again, especially with my son, but I don't think I'd really want to own them.
Okay.
Because I think some of them are actually still in production.
Oh, okay.
Or a incantation of them.
Right, okay.
Are still in
like
production.
An updated version.
Yeah. Definitely some of my honourable mentions are still around. So
right, okay, yeah. Right, so I'm kind of out of questions on that part. So if anyone doesn't want to throw anything in, then we'll go straight to the top 5s.
I think we can do that.
Let's do that then.
It's time for a top 5.
Now, just before we start the top 5s, I just want to mention that obviously Jason has invited me to be an official member of Meeple Minded, so I have now joined the team now. If you're not up to date with M.T.V.B, then you've been living under a rock under that announcement. But heads up, we have already done this episode for Meeple Minded. This has been recorded weeks after the episode was done. But if you want to hear some of our versions of it, I've changed one of mine for this, not for the purpose of it to be different. I kind of felt like on that episode, I wanted to talk more about a specific game, which I couldn't because I was kind of just thinking of certain parts of it. So I've changed one of my 5. But anyway, if you want to hear more info about games and a highly detailed actual board game podcast, please go listen to Meeple Minded. It's an amazing podcast, and I'll get Jason to plug it in at the end of the episode.
I love how I don't even have to sell it anymore.
He's going to sell it at the end.
He can do it himself.
That's why you
now.
invited him, because you're always like, doing the announcements. I hate the announcements.
But yeah, Meeple Minded, give it a go, guys. Let's go. Before we do that, if we don't mention any of your board games from your childhood, bollocks to you, should have been on the episode. Number 5. Right, as normal, we have to roll the dice, see who goes first. Okay, I've rolled a 9. Who'd like to go next?
Well, then I'll go next. Let's go.
Oh, no, that's the copyright one. Do it again.
Right, here we go again.
14. Right, beat 14, Chris. 12. Right, Jason goes first.
Rolling to 50.
And we go around clockwise from Jason. Good. So, Jason, number 5, please.
Oh, I hate being. I hate it. Hate being first.
Shouldn't have rolled so high.
It's not like I tried. I got 0.
I hate it. Professional.
Professional. I don't know about professional, but here we go. Okay, so I believe this game has actually already been mentioned so far on this episode, but it was the first one that came to my mind when I first started doing this list, because I have great memories with it. A little 2-player strategy game, which was all about destroying your opponent, which is, of course, Battleship.
Ah, there you go. See?
I loved Battleship.
Nice. I love Battleship. Do you still like it?
Do you know what? I still do.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing really inherently bad about it. Like, when you think back to that era of games, you always pick up on the negative side of things. But with Battleship, I don't feel like there is that much negativity. It's quite a luck-driven game, but I also view it as quite a strategic game. Because I viewed it as strategy because I got to learn my opponents. I got to learn their sort of play style, and I got used to knowing how they used to,
where they were hiding them.
One of my friends, Jeff, for example, he always put his aircraft carrier right at the very
C1.
top at vertical.
Is it C3 or C1, isn't it? It's like
something like that. But then he would have like an arrowhead formation.
Ah, okay.
Every single time, and I got to know that, and it would move a little bit.
So once you found one, you could clock the rest of it, essentially.
Exactly, yeah. So it's kind of strategy, but it took me a long time to sort of figure what he was doing. And other ones of my friends, his ships were always horizontal,
right?
But that was a bit harder because they could be anywhere. So it was. The strategy was like, right, I need to try and read my opponent. Where do I think they've got? Right, boom. Oh, I've got my first hit. Fantastic. Now, do I think I go up? Do I think I go down?
Right.
And then you got that epic miss, or you got that miss, and then you got the smarmy face on the opponent poking over the top of the board because you had that awesome little lift up
miss
thing. It's like, and you got that miss. So
you feel good when you say that.
Continue being smarmy because the
fake.
more.
Miss.
But didn't you find though the worst people that used to do that? They do it. And then you sort of clock. It's like, yeah, I know. I actually now know, because you're getting more and more smarmy about this, I know that I'm close. Which means as soon as I hit that, you're done for.
Hey, so you're reading pretty well then, aren't you?
There's a feeling in Battleships that there's not many games that give it to you. But when they're bombing the hell out of you.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And it's like you've got one left, but they've kind of started like one in.
Yeah.
And then they go, or like K4. But you're like, it's actually like K. That feeling of that.
They've gone like
this. You're like, you're just like, right.
See, I always found that
I know where you
the
are.
The hardest one to find was that little two
tug.
The two tug. And then you got to the end of the game, it was the only one that was there, and they started doing like, right, I'm going to easily do this. They go 1, 4, 7. But it was like, and then they do 1 and it'd be like 5, and yet my one was at 6.
Oh, that feeling's just
2,
like...
And then they do it the other side and then carry on. I was like, yes, they've missed it.
Nice.
Excellent.
I loved Battleships. It was like my sister was too young. I just used to smash her.
At the game, right?
Yeah, at the game, obviously, with like hillbillies. And I think I probably cheated. Miss. Even though it's probably sunk like...
Did you ever look over and be like, okay, you know...
There was
when they weren't looking, you're like, oh.
I'm not gonna lie. There was definitely a couple of times when I played that game that after the game, if I'd lost, I got not some proper sandy about it, but I'd have a quick look and say, "Hang on a minute,
I said this,"
and you always knew because you had that friend that you play the game with, and
he doesn't read it right.
As soon as the game was over, and then suddenly all the ships had been taken out, I was like, "Oh yeah,
oh yeah,
oh yeah,
yeah,
I know your game, pal." They didn't stay friends for very long.
I was going to say.
But yeah, I love Battleship. I would happily play it today. Again, I think it's still still going, for sale. I don't know if it's still the same incantation.
Captain Sonar. It was like when it was advertised as a game to sort of, I like Battleships. It kind of looks like just an intense game of Battleships where you're all playing. So it was
I've not played Captain Sonar, so
have you not? It's just intense. It's just an intense game of Battleships.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it could be, let's be honest, by modern standards, it could be far more in depth. But do you know what?
It probably has been updated,
what
isn't
makes
it?
it lovely. Yeah, it
probably has. Like, I kept Net 4's like, all spinny shit. And
probably Battleship like 74 hours. I don't know. But
with subs.
Yeah. Wasn't it? I think there was a submarine on it anyway, wasn't there? I think it was the 3.
Yeah, it was just above water.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll have a whole submersible part now as well.
Different versions of it. There's travel versions, there's its own movie. It's a big fucking game at the end of the day.
Yeah. I'm using my my Battleship to sink depth charges down to the next level. Boom.
I love the old man voice there, Jason.
Yeah.
Anything else on Battleship?
I don't think so. I think I could probably talk forever.
Okay.
But no, that's it. Battleships is my number 5.
Number 5, thank you. Chris.
All right.
Bandicoot Burn, what's number 5?
All right. So this one's kind of like a tough one because I enjoy the game so much. But the reason it's so high is I don't think I got the full excitement of playing it with everybody, and getting the full immersive game experience that I should have got out of it.
Right.
And it is Atmosphere.
Nice.
So I absolutely love the game, and it's pretty much the reason I love tabletop gaming as it is, because it's a proper game. But I needed to be at the older age to really kind of understand the game. So you're weighing on how much you're loving.
Yeah. So we pretty much most people know what Battleship is. Explain to people what the big deal with Atmosphere was.
Atmosphere was the first sort of game that I can remember where you had a board game and then you put in a video cassette and you watched along, which you had the Gatekeeper, Baron Samedi, and I think her name was Christine. She was a witch. They were the 3 that I had. And you had a 60 minutes to get round, do some tasks, get some stuff, get to the end and beat the Gatekeeper before he's done a full transformation.
Right.
So I loved it because it sold it as a proper scary sort of game. It's
a very scary thing, isn't it? Like a graveyard type thing, isn't it?
The whole graveyard is the board game, and you've got all the bats and stuff on there.
And the objective is to find keys or something?
Find keys and go around, not get banished to the black hole, get the keys, make it to the, I think it was the Well of Fears or the Fill of, it was like a middle
Well of Souls or something, I don't know.
And you go in there and you got to pick out your nightmare because what you're scared of, spiders, scared of the dark. I got the game, loved the game, but where I lived, I was a bit far out that my mates couldn't come without a full lift. Or like my nan coming to get it, I couldn't just run up the road and play with my mates. So my sister it was a bit younger, and it was not for her, because the moment he starts to go, bah,
yeah,
I loved it.
But that's the thing, because obviously you need the people for the board game, but you've also got to have a TV and a VCR at the same time as well. So
you do all of that, and you got it. So I played it enough for a few times. I bought it with my mates down in Torquay. They weren't the board gaming sort of 2 type for that one. Played it up here a couple of times, but I was well older. I don't think I had the magic of...
It had a gimmick, didn't it?
It had a gimmick, but
it was whether the
as a
gimmick
child,
paid off.
it was like, oh, did you have atmosphere? Yes, I did.
Yeah.
And it was like, for me, it was like, I needed to play it. I loved it. I just don't think I got how
Full
much
extent of
excitement,
it.
or I couldn't play that game on my own.
No, of course not.
No, or with my sister. Do you remember Rat Race?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my mum got that one.
Isn't that like been redone or something recently? Or something?
Or yeah. Rat,
but it's like a different version. Yeah.
Rat or something.
Yeah, something like that.
And my mum got it as this thing to be not scared, but the mouse who ate the cheese was absolutely fucking terrifying and scared my sister more than the graveyard guy or the Baron or the zombie. It was just kind of like, but you could see the production. It was the first game of a production level where you go, oh, this is good. You had markers that you write on and you rubbed it off. And
I said the artwork was pretty good for it.
You had keys, you had graveyards, and obviously the guy who popped up on the telly.
Little coffins and stuff wasn't there or something?
It was just a ticking Jack Bauer clock.
Mm.
Beep, and then it goes, come on, and it goes, whose go is it next?
Yeah, and it'll be like, who's got the most such and such? You have to do this and this or something, I believe, or whatever it was.
Problem was, you meant to kind of go, oh, yeah, sorry, sir. Yes, sir. Like
you actually had to talk back to him, didn't you, or something?
But
yeah.
when you're older and you're with your mates, you're like, oh, fuck off, mate. You're like,
Shut your fucking
who are you
mouth,
talking
mate.
to, mate? You're like, you're not playing, you're not getting in the immersive experience, which is why the reason when I thought, because at first I put it as number 1, and I was like, Chris, you're just.
You put it number 1 for the gimmick.
You loved it, but did you love the game?
Yeah.
Did you get to play the game and enjoy the? And I was like, I didn't enjoy the game as much as I should have done, as many times as I should have done, because you just play games over and over as a kid, and it was hard to get to. It was an hour.
Did you ever finish it?
Yeah, I finished it, and it was like, but it never finished it with like my mum, or it was one of those games. Do you finish it? Do you skip it to the end? Or and it was that's why it kind of at the upper end of my list now.
Oh yeah, nice mate, good pick. I was actually going to be in one of my other mentions, but I'm glad you did it. I'd be honest, I know of it. I never played it because I'd seen people play it on like YouTube or sort of the adverts back in the day when you were kids or something sort of thing. But they've re-released it recently. I think years ago there was a re-release of it on. Obviously the VHS was a DVD, and now I think it kickstarted at one point.
But they didn't actually do anything different, and it is a kids game. They're selling it to the people who bought it
as a kids game, but it looks like an adult game.
But give us that plus more, and I don't think it gave you enough
it was
contact.
Literally just a reprint when they
full
did
nostalgia. Boom! Here you can have it. Proper bells and whistles.
Yeah, nice pick, mate. Anything else on that at all?
No, that's it.
Nice. Right, my number 5 is a game I believe is from early 80s, might be 70s. And my mum went to a charity shop and brought it home one day, and it's a game called Alley Cats. Anyone know what it is?
Nope.
No.
It's cheating because I know what it is.
You kind of know what it is, but yeah. Anyway, Alley Cats is essentially a game where you play as cats, and there is a board which obviously has artwork of alleyways, or like in a spiral sort of section, and each section, end of the spiral is a bin. And it's literally like a red bin with a blue top in it. And you have to find food, like fish. And inside, you have to dare and look inside if it's got like a skeleton bone of a fish. And it does. You attach it to your figure, bring it all the way back. First 1 to 5 fish wins the game. But there's a little catch to this. Some of these bins have dogs inside. So if you open it up and unveil it, you have to roll to try and get away from the dog. And if the dog does, it beats you up and you have to go all the way back to the beginning. I don't know why I like this. I think the fact I had brought it up was the fact it was just a complete and utter shock or surprise that my mum just, I don't know, saw it in a charity shop one day and thought, oh, he'll like this. This is something he can get into or we can interact with, sort of thing. And I just love the aesthetic of it, like all the bins and stuff and everything, and how you change them up and you shuffle them around so you never know which one is in each one and whatnot. It's just a lot of fun. The artwork was simple, like it was the plastic ones, but you put the stickers on them, sort of artwood to it.
Yeah, the standees.
Standees, that's the one I'm looking for. Thank you. And that's pretty much it. I can't deny that this had to go in there. I mean, I would love to. This is one I wish I still owned, so my daughter could play with it now because she's like into cats and animals and that sort of stuff. But mate, if I can find a copy of it on eBay or something, I might consider it. But if no one's ever heard of it, it's Alley Cats. I friggin' love it. I still love it to this day. And I had to be my number 5.
Yeah, after we talked about this one a few weeks back, I did a tiny bit of research because I knew about the game before that anyway. But 1976.
Oh, there you go.
Is when that one came out.
76.
Yeah, 1976.
Wow.
I remember we mentioned as well that some of the standees artwork is a bit questionable by modern standards.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
the sassy sexual cat stance.
That's right. But I was just so in love with it. It's like, there's a little thing and it attaches to your Mini, and I just thought it was great for. I mean, you know how people go mental about meeples. You can attach stuff to meeples nowadays.
Yeah.
And
the component quality of their game was crazy.
Yeah.
What was the box art?
It's like a bunch of cats on top of one another in a dark alley. Like,
it makes it sound a bit like a cat orgy.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah.
Nothing.
There you go. I'll show you a picture of it now.
That one.
Does it ring a bell at all?
I don't know.
No?
It's weird. Yeah, no.
We'll show you some more pictures of it later. Yeah.
But even like not even walking past in the toy, I've gone, oh.
That's what I'm saying, because everyone knows all these other games, and Alley Cats is, again, this random thing from, like Jason said, 1976.
All the little bins and stuff, they were all 3D, little 3D bins. Like
they were actual bins. They weren't like a cardboard thing. They were plastic. And, the production quality on them was actually pretty good for a 76 game. But yeah,
very, very good. I can't remember if I've played it or not. I'm pretty sure I have, but
it's not one that everyone knows about.
No,
so
it's definitely one we didn't own. I can say that.
Yeah.
Much. So
if
did you own it then?
Yeah, so we had it, and I don't know where it is now. I'm sure it's in the bin somewhere, or we lost pieces as a kid. Who knows?
Did you say how did you get it? Like
Mum brought it back from a charity shop or something.
See, there it is. Jumanji.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, because we didn't have car boots in London, so charity shop was the next best thing. We'll put that on my number 5, and then we'll go to number 4s.
Number 4.
Back to Jason. What is your number 4?
Okay, so this is, I believe, the most predictable one on my list as someone who is 36 years old and grew up slap bang in that era. It is one of Anthony's favourite TV shows adapted for a card game, which is, of course, Pokemon.
Shut up. I was like thinking about it for a second. I wish Gal was here for that. He would have loved you, mate.
Oh, yeah, no. I was of the era where it was huge.
So this is the trading
card game. Yep, still going strong today with, 400 million Pokemon. Yeah. But, I was from the original set, when they first
the late 90s, was it? Or
yeah, something like that, yeah.
Right.
Obviously the TV show was huge. You had the Game Boy games were huge.
Yeah,
and of course
absolutely.
the trading card game came out with that as well. And I had, I primarily got into it for the trading side of it. That's what we did in school. But, I'm a nerd. I've always been a nerd. So eventually I when I knew that there was actually a game involved, it was like, well, actually, I want to learn how to play this.
How did you get into it?
My school had an after-school club for nerds.
So it wasn't like you saw someone else with them and got you into it.
No, like I said, I sort of knew of the cards anyway because I loved the TV show and I was playing the video games of it already. But when I heard that there was trading cards, and of course, when you're that age, you go to toy shops and stuff, and of course they're always by the till.
Yes, yeah.
In their little packs. It's, what's this? This is Pokemon. I want this. I was like, I don't know what it is, but I want it. And I think that's how I got my first pack. I was just randomly in a toy shop one day, and they bought me a pack of those, and of course it was really cool. I was like, oh my god, these are the Pokemon that are on TV. Right. Most disappointed, obviously, my very first pack, I didn't get Charizard. I mean, how disgusting was that?
So
you wouldn't have kept it in mint condition anyway.
No. So I never really collected trading cards as a kid. I was more of a sticker person. So
yes.
Was there like an album for them, or was it just literally I remember, you stack them somewhere?
Yes, because I had the official branded Pokemon album thing that you put in. It,
Right.
Much like the old sticker albums where you had, obviously on those, you had like coloured pages, which
That's
just
right,
had a
and you just
square.
add it to it, yeah.
Panini
Stuck
and
it
Merlin.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, whereas with those, it's just a load of plastic sheets in the middle
Right.
that you slide the cards into and whatever. You protected the cards because that's what we all wanted to do as kids, obviously, was protect the cards. But no, it was nice because I was, again, very fastidious.
Full elastic band, double wrap.
Yes, all the way around them.
Oh, yeah. Fucking get in that
Right in
pocket.
that pocket.
Fucking pocket. Fucking bold. Are you pleased to see me? No, I just got my trading cards in my pocket.
It's like the square bulge, isn't it? Yeah.
And yeah, like going to school every single day with the notorious
bulge.
bulge in your pocket.
It was the first thing that you know, if you leave your phone at home.
Yeah.
You knew if you didn't have
If
your
you
phone.
didn't have your phone, you could have a
You'd be like, fuck, where
I
are
haven't
they?
got my swaps.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
you
yeah,
might as well.
yeah.
You might as well be a
Yes.
fucking recluse and have leprosy because there's no point in you playing in the car.
This is it,
You
yeah.
haven't got any.
Yeah.
I ain't got time to. I've got to talk to these men.
Let's talk to these guys who've got the reserves.
These men who
Swaps.
got number 32. And you see some people with the list of paper, you're like, fuck me, this kid ain't fucking about. He's got his list of like, numbers he needs, or it's like, you're like,
He's got the hologram.
16. Oh, someone's got 16. Get this man 16.
So does this mean we can actually like blame like Pokemon for the rise in drug dealers because it gave them all their practice, right?
Considering how much
beyond
they're
the school
worth
shed.
nowadays.
Go beyond the
never-
school shed.
I don't like Pokemon, but then I've never been a fan of the sort of animation. What is it that you don't like about it? Because you like other sort of that sort of animation.
I've just never got into the gimmick of Pokemon. Maybe I've not really got into it at all or whatnot, but I don't know, it's weird. I can't picture why I don't like it. I mean, I'm sure it's pretty good, don't get me wrong, but I've never played it. I've never really... I'm talking about the video games, the car games, anything. I think I did watch some of the TV series, but I just found it a bit repetitive.
It's
got like one of
it
the
was
best,
the same thing every single
best
episode.
show. My problem was, like I was saying about, it happened to me where I was at an age where I shouldn't be enjoying cartoons, or I can't. If everybody at school was talking about Pokemon and blah blah, like in my year, it wasn't. So you just kind of, and I missed the total buzz.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're saying 4 minutes, I'm like, where do I fucking start? How do I start? You can't start, and it's kind of like.
Yeah, I mean, being slightly older than Jason, I mean, I was like playing my PlayStation 2 at the time these things
Same.
came out as well. So, I never really was into or wasn't playing, growing up playing Nintendo, I wasn't playing Nintendo at the time. So, I missed all the, the rise
totally
of
missed
Pokemon.
the whole thing. But I had trading cards and I had the whole buzz of thing, but I was never trading. My age was never trading cards of Pokemon.
I think like if we're talking about trading cards per se, I think the only thing I had as trading cards was maybe Marvel stuff. But that's about it. The rest of it, like I said, was all just sticker albums.
We used to have these things called dinosaurs, and it had like super dinos, and it had like a little gold hologram, and they were like.
But then
they were like Cougarans.
But then talking about sticker albums, we had the famous, FIFA Premiere stuff, right?
Yeah.
See, I wasn't doing that. I was collecting Street Fighter stickers, or there was always something else different to what other people were getting into.
Yeah,
so at that age, man, there were sticker albums for everything.
Exactly, absolutely.
You just had to find one that you knew was going to be around in 2 weeks' time. That was.
Yeah.
So was you doing that?
I definitely used to do the sticker stuff because, again, growing up, I was in a family full of football fans, so definitely into the football side of things. But I think like the Pokemon game was like the next evolution of that for me.
That whole knowledge.
And what I really liked about the Pokemon side of things is obviously with the sticker albums, you've got your shinies and all that, which were the rare ones. But with Pokemon, you started getting the tiered levels of rarity. And it kind of, I really liked it because, again, the trading side of it was my first experience at, learning to, how should we say, barter and ensure that I came out on top.
Right.
You proper go Gordon Gecko. Even on your best mate, you're like, give it.
Dude.
All of it.
You talk about Gordon Gecko, you should play Chinatown with this guy here.
That's what I mean. It's like you could be
the living embodiment of Gordon Gecko here.
But that is all thanks to Pokemon.
But that's where your knowledge starts from.
That's where it started.
That's where your knowledge, because you learn as you go. My football knowledge of all of the 80s and 90s comes from boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
Because you didn't have like TV back in like to broadcast all of those plays. You didn't see them. But you know them all because you've probably never seen half of these Pokemon on the actual
on the show.
Yeah. I think the first time you sort of get to it was they started to bring a load in for was it red and yellow or the red and blue games?
That was the Game Boy one.
Game Boy, or was it Game Boy Color first? Was it?
No, it was the original first. It was red and blue on the original first.
So I didn't have a Game Boy as well, so I never got onto it for that reason. It just totally missed.
But this is what I'm saying. Again, another why I didn't get into it, because people were still playing their old Game Boys in 98, 99 just to play Pokemon. And we've moved, like I said, we've got Xboxes now. We've got PlayStation 2s.
Yeah.
Why would anyone like myself want to go back to, black and white Game Boy, whatnot? But do you still have a thing for Pokemon, or are you just...
Not really. Obviously when my son was growing up, he enjoyed watching Pokemon. He didn't really enjoy watching the old Pokemon that I used to watch. I definitely don't have a connection with the newest stuff. Like, I'm very old school. It's like the original 150 Pokemon. That's it. That's all I was ever interested in. With the game itself, like, I host a official Pokemon league at my gaming club. But in all honesty, I don't get involved in it.
Right.
And anything like that. I'm just purely a hosting space for them.
Never thought of going back into it?
I go into the room every now and again. I look at it and I'm just sort of like, this is not for me, is it? Because obviously it's just generally that whole trading card game side of things. Like, it's got crazy. If you don't sink hundreds of money, into it, you might as well.
I just kind of realised I'm so glad that I never got that bug for that very reason.
Right.
It's like same with like trading card games are not on my any top fives, or I wouldn't be on a podcast because I've got nothing to
bring to the table.
Even Arkham Horror, I was like, I enjoy this, but I don't want to keep buying.
Push money into it,
yeah, I think
to sum up why I 100% don't really buy into trading card games anymore. And people do ask me, it's like, well, how can you do that? And you like deck builders? I was like, yeah, but when I buy an expansion for a deck builder, I know what cards are in it.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm going on a TCG, I'm buying
You're going blind.
Gambling for kids,
It's a 10-card pack that I'm buying blind that is 8 cards of guff, 1 probably energy card that I've got millions of anyway, and then a rare card that I might not even want.
Yeah.
And that's why I've never bought a pack on any computer game or paid for a chest. I might have gone, I've got some diamonds which I've accumulated, I could buy this. Done.
You talk about like the microtransaction,
but like it never. That whole point of not. Oh, if I'm buying something, I want to know that I'm buying it. Yeah. I want it.
Yeah.
I don't want to. You got a chance.
You want to know what you're getting.
If I'm handing over proper money, you can't. But then as a kid in the sticker packs, that was the fun of it. I mean, and I think I always got like the Coventry goalkeeper at about 9,000 swaps. You always got the one that you constant shine. You get a shiny.
The commons.
I don't know, Snorlax 1,000 times. You're just like, is that me? Was that? Oh,
sorry. Go
on. But as a kid, I loved it.
Yeah,
loved it. But now I wouldn't like to be.
Yeah. So it's legal gambling for the uninitiated.
Yeah, pretty much. Anything on Pokemon trading cards?
No, sorry, I forgot we were even
talking
about mine. But no, that's it. Number 4, Pokemon.
Nice, sir. Chris, over to you, sir. Bandicoot Burn.
Right, so this one is the original Dinogenics / Dinosaur Island.
Oh. Go on.
Dizzy Dinosaur.
Hey! That was going to be an honourable mention for me.
Dizzy Dinosaur. It all started from, you see a family of like safari people in a sort of jungle, I think.
Yeah, cavemen. They're all cavemen. Yeah.
And it looks all shiny, and then this dinosaur just goes nuts on the advert.
So it's like a spiral, isn't it? And you have to get them to the middle and stack them up, don't you?
Yeah, you get your guys around and you roll them, and they're basically like dumb weights / barrels, hollow barrels with
weight at the top and the bottom, isn't it?
And you can sort of move it round in a spiral way.
Yeah.
And the way that they're built is that you can stack them up.
That's right.
all in a row.
You had to roll dice though, didn't you?
But you roll your dice and you
Yeah.
get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is obviously dizzy.
Dizzy, yeah.
So what you had to do is when you roll it, you go around, and then you
Wind him up,
wind
yeah.
him up.
Now, I can't remember. Did you have to put him on a specific spot?
No,
and he would go, or...
Well, I don't know, but because you're sort of a kid, you just sort of... You're not thinking of a... Because even if you kind of point it at someone, he spins around...
He goes mental, mate.
You could probably work out how many times he spins around, but not at the age I was.
No.
So there was no... It was just... But the chaos it caused when it went...
Dude, when you stacked up and you need that last caveman to get to the top and then Dizzy just ruins it all. That was the bane of my...
But the laughing and, like I was saying earlier, collected dinosaurs, and dinosaurs was a thing we...
Yeah,
so,
it was a big thing then,
so
wasn't it? Yeah.
You got Dizzy... It was like, oh,
Dude.
shit, you got Dizzy Dinosaur, let's whack it out.
Dude,
like,
I remember seeing the advert for that years ago, and it was like, Dizzy Dinosaur. And it's like, there's more to it, but I remember seeing that, and straight away I was like, that's what I want for my birthday, or that's what I want for Christmas. I can't remember what it was, whatnot.
This was a game that you played and you genuinely finished.
I wouldn't mind playing it now, to be honest.
But you know what I mean? You genuinely finished, and it didn't overstay. It all played. It was
the
so,
artwork was so good, though. I
so
remember
good.
like the things you go around were like actual dinosaur footprints or something. You had to follow it around in your colour or something.
The weird thing was you had to hold, but then you had to hold the wheels,
That's right. Yeah.
and it was sort of like,
And then let him go.
and then it was like, because otherwise you start going nuts in your hand.
Yeah, because he would do a straight line, stop, and then literally spin, wouldn't he? Hence the term.
Yeah,
Dizzy
or if he
Dizzy,
went
yeah.
off the board, that was it. But
Yes.
I think it was 2 dice or something.
I only
'cause
remember one.
There was a way of. I think you either if you rolled something or because you can end up spinning twice. I think there was something on. I might be wrong. You know.
It's been a while, yeah.
Yeah, so it might be one, but I just thought there was a way that. Oh, he got 2 dinosaurs, or he's got to go twice. So you're not
Right.
always safe. But I might be house rules.
I don't know. Yeah.
You
We were
don't
talking about
know.
house rules.
But this is more just the fact of like how much fun I had as a kid playing, and it was a game that we all played, family and sister, and it was just loved it.
But now I remember, like you said, mate, when you were talking about, you've got Disney Dance, whack it, let's play it. Like I said, the artwork for the board was great. The artwork for the cavemen on the stands they had and everything. I would love this to come back. I would buy it now, to be honest, just to play with my daughter or something. I friggin' love Disney.
Yeah.
Disney Dinosaur. But it was literally going to be like in there. And then I remembered Alley Cat, so it came out of the top 5 for me.
I don't even remember that, and that's embarrassing, man. A dinosaur game that I don't know.
It was quite a while ago, though, wasn't it? So
It was. Yeah. Oh,
nice. Anything else on it?
just kind of wish I owned it.
Yeah, same,
Like you-
right?
like you
I wish
said,
I still
it's
owned
like,
it. Oh, man,
but
I had to
then
look up on eBay and get
that was one of the ones that I was saying I kind of want to get my hands on.
Yeah,
and there's
I
another
would.
one in here that more this one
Hmm.
because the other one they probably have the same problem. But yeah, this one I kind of want to try and find.
Yeah, like the OG copy of it.
Yeah.
Nice. I definitely would. I remember the box art for it as well. Oh, so good. Yeah, good call, sir. Nice one. My number 4 is Ghost Castle. Straight off the bat.
Yeah.
Ghost Castle is one of those games that was from the mid-'80s where you play as one of the kids that needs to get to the top of the Ghost Castle, and you need to basically shut the top of the tower so the skull wouldn't stop coming down. So the aim of the game is to travel through outside of this castle, inside this castle, and you would roll a dice, obviously, to make your movement, but after you moved, you'd spin a wheel. And the wheel would have a skull, a dice, petrified face, and etc. And if you got the skull, you would have to drop the skull down in the middle of this tower, and it would activate one of the traps to stop you getting there before other players do. So that was essentially the game. I put this on here because this is one that I still own. I've owned the original of it, and this is the one I do play with my daughter because she's kind of got this thing with horror and ghosts and all that sort of stuff. And I've just put on mine for the sheer artwork of this game. Like I think Hasbro has re-released it now, and it's not anywhere on par to the original 80s one. It's literally 2 pieces of plastic that's situated in the middle, and the rest is all held by cardboard on the edges. Now, the different artworks, because you start outside the castle, it's just like a forest sort of thing, and then you've got the knight holding the axe, which is like a booby trap sort of thing. Just detailed artwork and every little nook and cranny until you go inside and there's ghosts and whatnot. Inside the middle of the tower, there has little windows in it. Now, the piece of cardboard that goes in the middle of it has, it situates like so you can look in the actual window and something's looking back at you. It's brilliant. Yeah. It's so cleverly done and so well designed.
This is awesome.
Do you know Ghost Castle?
I love this game. So
yeah.
I might talk about it later, but
okay, right.
But it's more a case of there isn't much better quality.
I was literally going to get to that. Yeah.
Of a game than this one.
Absolutely. It's like every bit is just perfect. It's I don't know how much it was back in the day, but it was only like 15 quid now. But just the little pieces, the little petrified faces that go on the minis and stuff. The standees again, sorry. And they're all cardboard apart from the mask. The petrified was like a plastic thing. But even the detail to the steps that go up to the tower and everything, the little skull that glows in the dark and everything. It's just fantastic.
How seamless it, because I built it well as a kid, and it come apart as a kid, and I was quite rough and.
So my version still has to be held with sellotape in certain parts, but it still kind of does the trick. There's still
probably mine, but that's
all the traps still work.
That's it.
Yeah.
But then I know a game like in that sort of sense wouldn't last. The same way now.
But I remember as a kid, after you roll the dice for your movement, when you span that wheel, you just did not want the skull, regardless.
You didn't want the skull. And
you never wanted to roll it. And there's more skulls on the wheel than there is anything else on that.
It was green.
Green was for the
green
dice.
footprints for is it secret passages?
No, so green was for your safe zone, so you wouldn't get hit by a booby trap. Yeah.
And then you had blue, and you had...
Which was the... Secret passages,
and then you had obviously the red ones where you're in the danger zone.
In the danger zone, the skull could possibly come down, and that's another thing I love about this game is the variety of you never know what it's going to activate.
The way it comes out and the where it comes out is amazing.
It's so simple. It's brilliant.
But it looked like because you have one that comes out of the drain. Was it like a drain pipe? One that come out the bottom.
Yeah, one that moves the floorboard, one that knocks the skeleton,
and then one that does the window.
Yes, that's the window. Yeah, the skeleton one, and then you've got the one that comes down the stairs, so it can knock you off the stairs. I love the one with the axe. Like I said, the knight's holding it at the front of the castle, sort of thing. Oh my god, mate, I absolutely love it. And it's one to stay them. I still play with my daughter today. I'm debating about getting the Hasbro one. I would like to see the difference, but it won't be anything on par to what MB games released back in the day.
Does it destroy the magic?
I don't. I think the artwork is just completely different. I think it still has a majority of what the actual game has, but like I said, I might just dive in and get a copy of it.
See, I'm well and truly Team MB as a kid.
Right, I'm gutted MB doesn't exist to this day.
Major boss games. I know that's not what they're called, but is it? I think it was Marley or something. It was.
I can't remember.
Did have it written down in my actual notes. Milton Bailey.
That's it. Right,
but
okay.
AKA Major Boss.
Major Boss.
Major Boss games. They seem to be the more fun.
Did they release Dizzy Dizzy?
Dizzy Dizzy.
Did they?
They did, I think, Battleships. They did Connect 4. They did, I think, what was the...
So everything that Hasbro's got now, basically. Yeah.
Whereas the Waddingtons were very, here's a board game. Very serious.
Right. Which they did Monopoly, right?
Monopoly, Cluedo.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
I think they did Risk.
The board game wars. Yeah. Bloody hell.
Yeah,
that's like Sega and Nintendo, isn't it?
First ones, yeah. Waddingtons and the two old boys kicking off.
Yeah, Waddingtons were the ones, they were the ones that we look back fondly on now.
Yeah.
With replacing that word fondly.
Major Boss.
Fondly.
MB games were they did gimmick the hell out of their games, and that's how they got me.
Yeah.
The whole dexterity of a game, they made it. We're trying to sell board games to kids. Let's make it for kids. Whereas Waddingtons, I always found they were trying to build a board game for everybody.
Yeah.
And
it was
it didn't work.
They did work, but I just don't think it worked as well as.
No. Yeah.
For me to be, because I enjoyed the games, but to me to put them on the personal list.
Yeah. Nice pick, mate. Nice pick. I picked it.
Yeah.
But it might pop up later, so I won't go into any more detail about it. And we'll go to number 3s.
Number 3.
Back to Jason. What is your number 3, sir?
Okay, so my number 3 is one that I think I've talked to you about in the past, Amp, and I don't think you remembered it. But this one is going to be swaying the line, much like the last one, as to whether it is qualifying as a board game or not. But it is indeed a tabletop game, which is Go-Go's. Do you remember Go-Go's? So I think these were far more my time, which were, again,
Chris?
No.
bought in the same way much as the Pokemon game, so in a blind pack, but you were buying a box, and it had like a little plastic or little resin monster thing inside it, and you collected all these things, and they were all weird and wonderful shapes, and it was a dexterity game, basically. If you actually played the game, you created a team of these things, you put them up on your side of the table, and you would flick them across the table to try and knock down your opponent's monsters. And obviously different types of monsters. You have bigger ones, smaller ones, and all of that kind of thing. So if you got a whole team full of these big bastards, you were likely to actually do some serious damage, and it was far easier to knock his ones over than it was my own. So imagine Conkers, but, sellable, rather than just pick them up off the floor.
It's like an updated Pokemon that you can actually attack things with.
Exactly,
in a way,
yeah. There was no real... I don't want to say there was no real skill, because it was a dexterity game, and you were trying to aim these monsters and stuff, but they were all horrible, weird shapes. So you could flick them, but then if one of their various bumps hit the table, it might fling them off in a different direction and what have you. But I just always found it really fun. Again, I think it was more the collecting side of things for me. But also I'd already done Pokemon, or I think I'd already done Pokemon, but it was sort of same sort of time as Pogs and things like that. It was that sort of era. So I'd already got into the collecting side of it, and so
it was kind of like your era Pog in a way.
Yeah, exactly. I'd already got into the bartering side, because you could trade them as well. It's like, well, I've got this big bastard here, knowing full well that this thing's utter garbage because it's light as anything.
Right.
But I know that you've got that one, which I know you don't like, so you can have this one, and I'll have that one. It's like, well, that one's heavy, so that one's going to do a lot more damage. I want that one.
Gordon Gecko over it.
I know, that's what I mean. You're ruthless. That's his mum.
That's it.
But yeah, that was, like I said, there's not really much to say when it comes to Go-Go's. They're just little weird monsters.
Was it something you did for a while then, or
I did do
were
it
they around for a while?
A few years? Yeah, they were definitely a fad, and it wasn't a particularly long-running fad.
Right.
But I know that there's still people around today that
collect them,
are still collecting them, still buying them. The game is long dead. It's not really a game per se, but the collecting side of things, people still want the whole thing. But it's a very, very rare kind of hobby to go.
Are they quite expensive to get hold of then now?
I think they are. I've not really seen any or even looked for any, to be completely honest.
Never thought to go back and get a couple that used to own?
No. Again, it wouldn't surprise me if there's some in the loft somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll find it one day, probably.
You got any of your Pokemons up there?
More than likely. Yeah,
they could be worth a bit, dude.
Yeah, like I said, I used to have 4 of those Charizards that were worth an absolute mint, so they could well still be in the loft, but they could also be completely trashed.
If you don't see Jason in season 9, you know why.
But I won't go on about it too much, because there isn't much of a game there to really go
it's
about.
still,
I just
it's
really
still
enjoy
nice to know, because I'm surprised that I can't. If I see it, I probably will know it, but I can't picture it in my head at the moment.
I sort of attribute it was my first experience of a dexterity game, I would say. But other than learning how to flick a piece of plastic or
it sounds better than Pogs, in honesty, because Pogs was literally just hit this and collect what one ever flipped over, wasn't it?
Something like that.
Yeah.
But then you can never get them because it was like theft. There was actually never anybody ever taking anybody's Pogs, was it? Really?
No, because you would take them at playtime, but then you'd swap them back after.
Yeah.
It was like you give them back. You'd only ever trade.
Yeah.
Give my Pogs.
Did anyone ever get suspended from school for stealing Pogs?
Yeah, like the great the great lunchtime heist of 89. During wet break, he's snuck in the window. He's opened up the drawer. Do you remember the Pogs? Because they were in the.
You used to get a tube, didn't you?
Yeah.
Put them something.
Yeah, you're done for. The guy pulled out a tube. You
Yeah.
know, when you put, oh fuck.
Yeah.
You're pulling yours out like loose change. You're like,
I've literally just got a starter pack here. Yeah.
you just change going everywhere.
Yeah.
Just he's already lost.
But
Yeah.
you're talking earlier about the Pokemon pack bulge. Now just imagine having a pocket full of these knobbly fucking little
Oh,
monsters.
mate, that must friggin' hurt. Yeah, that
So
those
I
in
had
there.
monsters in my pockets. Did you have that?
I remember them, yeah.
Yeah, like they were fucking done.
Yeah, Monster in My Pocket, Muscle Men,
Yeah.
and
Mighty Max.
I went through a phase. Mighty Max was another one. I went through a phase with, so I think it was Monster in My Pocket, but they were like a wrestler version of them. Do you remember them?
No, it didn't have the rest.
Mate, they were pretty good, yeah. Hey, we're going off topic
No,
anyway.
yeah.
So, yeah,
Anything else on that, sir?
That's all right. I was going to say, like I said, fond memories, just a pocket full of really uncomfortable monsters in my.
You've got a few scars on your leg for
You know,
that.
pretty scars on that, and then and a Pez dispenser in the other pocket. You know,
Nice.
But
Right.
yes, there you go. Goes.
Thank you. Number 3 to Mr. Bandicoot.
Oh, okay. So this one is probably like one of the loudest games. This is one I'm putting on pulling it off the list because I didn't think it was a board game, but it is.
Okay.
Kaplunk.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
yeah.
It was a good family game, and obviously it's the loudest game. When the idea was you're in a cylinder, got on a ball, and you put a load of like.
When you're trying to take them out.
Yeah, you put the sticks in, the cocktail sticks in first, and then you pour in
Then you
all
pour
the
it in,
marbles,
that's
right. Yeah.
and then it's like the first original Jenga, but you don't put it back.
Right.
You pull it back, and the satisfaction of someone like, and then the rush of like 8 marbles, and it's like, you're done for. It's just, yeah. It was.
So what was the actual aim of it? You had to like get the least or something?
You had to get the least amount of marbles in your. If you had the most, you lost.
Right.
And it was one of these games that my nan had in her like old collection. You're like,
Right.
dusted off, and you're like, oh, there's got to be something fun in here, something for kids. And Kaplunk was the one that we played an awful lot at my nan's. You know.
Was it the one you went to? If you were going to your nan's, you knew it was coming
Yeah, because we
out?
played, and my granddad, you keep it down every 2 minutes. So yeah, we had a lot of fun times playing Kaplunk. It was a game that me and my sister played an awful lot. It's not a game that
Is it
I
still
played.
around today?
Yeah.
Is it?
It's still that's in one of the games in Sally's collection that she's
Right.
got. It's not so much. I think my nan's one was very heavy. Like the tubes was heavy plastic.
Yeah.
Everything's a bit
Flimsy now.
Yeah, you look at it, it'll break. The things wouldn't
They're
break.
built to last in the 80s.
Oh yeah, it still lasted. Yeah,
I mean, I've still got Ghost Castle, come on.
like a marble's made out of lead, probably.
Didn't they do like the re-themes and stuff of that over the years as well? Where you got like the monkeys as
The
well.
monkeys and like you're pulling them off. But yeah, it's just one of those games that it was. Thinking back, I played that so much,
Yeah.
so
I
much.
used to love Kaplunk.
but
I used to love it.
I don't know if you ever tried
It
to
was
play
always-
sneak games like late at night when you're not allowed. It was never a. Oh, we get a quick
You
game.
couldn't get
you
a quiet
couldn't- no,
game.
Couldn't get a quick game. Oh, actually, it's bedtime. You know,
Could hear it drop and be like, yeah.
boo, 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 boo. It was a giveaway. So you're not playing that game.
I remember it being so bright and colourful as well.
Yeah.
It was very like translucent sort of thing.
Translucent. It was like like those. If you were looking through it, it'd give you like the 3D glasses
Yeah.
effect. If you look through both of them, it was really well done. There's so much enjoyment.
Simple concepts as well,
Simple
isn't it?
concept. Marbles, don't get him down, and just it's the same satisfaction of seeing someone else pull that falling tower.
Yeah.
Miss.
Yeah, that's the satisfaction in those ball games as a kid. It's like,
That was the selling point of a lot
There.
of those games, wasn't it? It was just did it give me the effect? Very nice.
Nice,
Yeah,
sir. Anything
brilliant
else
game.
on Kaplunk?
no, it just, it's simple, easy.
Yeah,
and it just,
absolutely.
just for how long it was. Oh, let's get Kaplunk out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's as quickly as it. As
one of
quickly
those
as
ones
it
that, yeah,
down,
okay,
boom,
let's
boom,
do it.
down, even if it was one game, overdone, boom, back in.
Yeah.
And the box was big enough that it just went.
Yeah.
There's none of this. I got to fit it in.
None of this disassembled palaver and whatnot. Yeah,
it just went in pretty much.
Yep.
Nice, mate.
And then you can add as many marbles as you want because you always had them.
It's true, yeah.
So marbles were a big thing when we were kids as well, weren't they? So
yeah.
I've got extra marbles. Well, let's
whack them in. Yeah.
Could you ever use the bigger marbles? Because there was always different size ones, wasn't there?
You could, but I think you were limited because there was a hole, and I think sometimes you can spin it, and sometimes it would be so it wouldn't all go down because there'd be a point where. Yeah, because there's so many. They still had a way that the marbles would sit without it always going completely down. You weren't just on the chopstick on the matchsticks, were you? I think you either span something at the bottom and it closed the.
Yeah, you actually had to. The entire tower used to pivot so that it came to so that the exit was facing you.
That's it. There was
a hole at the bottom of it for the marbles to come out.
And that's why it'd come out of yours. Yeah. Got you.
Yeah,
nice.
really.
But then, it's the same with the. Moving it can send it. No.
I think I got most balls coming out on me was when I was moving the damn thing. I was really good at pulling the chopsticks out or matchsticks or whatever you want to call them. But actually, I was really heavy-handed when it came to moving the damn thing. So it was like, move, stop. Oh, there they go. Oh, well, I've got to take my turn now and just take it. Oh, look, only one falls when I take this bloody thing out, yet 10 of the bastards have come out just for me moving it. So, yeah.
Deadly game.
Great memories.
Nice pick, mate. So, my number 3... We're on 3, aren't we? Yes, we're on 3. My number 3 is a Disney game called Storyboard. Now, Jason, I know you know it because we've done the episode, but do you know anything about it at all, Chris?
No.
So, Storyboard is essentially a game where you pick a Disney movie, and it's a deck of cards, so you've got Bambi, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, whatnot. And the aim of the game is to build the storyboard of the movie. So all the cards have a piece of the movie onto it. At the start of your turn, you roll 2 dice. One has letters, one has numbers. And it'll be something like battleships, like A5. If you have A5 in front of you, you can place that card onto your storyboard. And it's essentially the first person to build that storyboard wins the game. After your turn, there's a massive wheel in the middle of the board, and what you do is after your turn, you have to spin it, and you would get another chance to maybe get another card you didn't have on there. If not, you would either have Merlin, which is the good guy card, or if you rolled a Tinkerbell will be the bad person. And she's not a bad person in Disney as a character, but in this game, she was the bad person. If you get out one of her cards, something bad would happen, like you would swap storyboards, or you have to move over, or get rid of a card or something. And Merlin was always the guy who would help. The reason I put it on here was it's one of these games that's very under the radar. Not many people know about it, but we talked about board games getting played during birthdays and Christmases and whatnot. So this was the sort of game that my mum would play with me and my sister. You know that Sunday night thing, you've had your bath, you're ready for school the next day sort of thing. So this is the thing you did before you went to bed sort of thing. This was the one that my mum would play with us all the time. Downtime, that's the one I'm looking for. Whilst my dad's in the background watching Heartbeat, we're sitting here playing storyboards, Disney storyboard. And you have about 6 different movies. So again, it would be a different movie you'd try and build every time. It's such a simple concept. It's still, and again, this is another one that I still wearing. I think this is the only 2 wearing is Ghost Castle and Storyboard out of my top 5. Again, play this today with my daughter and my wife as well. We love playing this game. I'm kind of nice. It's kind of nice that it's been passed down. So hopefully it will still be around if she plays it with her kids as well, sort of thing. Just a nice, simple game of people love Disney. I'm surprised there hasn't been a remake of it because it's, quite good. Well, it has to be a lot shorter because the boards are quite big in this. But yeah, a great family game, and I can't deny they had to be on my list for that reason. So yeah, short but sweet on that one. Disney Storyboard, highly recommend if you could ever find a copy of it. And then we'll go to number 2s.
Number 2.
Back to Jason. You're number 2, sir.
I'm actually having to remind myself of what I put at number 2. I'm pretty sure. In fact, I do remember. I've just remembered it. Yes. So this one was. I don't think when we were talking about it the other day you remembered this, but this one was Mastermind.
This was another one on my. Was it a board? Was it a
okay.
board game? It's on my honourable mention. And
right.
Okay.
Pegs,
that's the one.
Pegs.
Yeah, that's the one. There we go. Someone who
There we
actually
go,
remembers
someone who
it.
knows.
So, Mastermind. This was one that I played much later on in my childhood, obviously, because this wasn't a kids game, really. But I loved it because, again, it was another one of these games that taught me things like strategy and, to a degree, even sort of a social deduction element, because you were code breaking. So it was a 2-player game. Like, for example, I would be sat here, I would have 4 different colours of pegs that I had to create a 4-digit or 4-colour code out of. Now, I could use all of the same colour if I really wanted to. I'd probably be beaten quite quickly if I did that.
Right.
Or I could do a blue, a yellow, a green, and a red.
Or white.
Or white, or whatever it was, and I could do it in any order I want. The opposing player then had 10 rounds to try and crack that code, and it was all hidden behind my thing. And they would put what they thought it was down in their version, and I would then place much smaller pegs to indicate how many they'd got right, or how many the correct locations
like the
they
battleship
got right.
pegs. You're like, when you were hit, like your markers, they were pretty much like a little red peg.
Yeah.
And you could say, this one's correct. You know, when you're doing a game and you know that one's correct, you just move on, don't you?
So you could do, like, say, for example, if he got 2 in the right place, but only 1 colour was correct.
So is it only one player trying to crack the other code, or is it vice? Can you do it with each other?
You would do it in like two different games, basically. I would do mine. You try and crack my code,
and then it goes to.
Then we swap around, and whoever
does it in the least rounds wins or something.
It's probably about not even like maybe it's 40 centimeters long, and it's but it's very thin.
Yeah,
and it was kind of, and you were kind of hidden behind a shield.
Yeah.
So like there isn't much because you kind of like. Don't look.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to pick out, like, you can see the colours you're picking out of the box, and it was like, there isn't much.
Yeah, there's not a lot there hiding it for when you're actually trying to make the code to start with. So, yeah, you kind of had to try and do it when they weren't in the room or something, and then cover it up when they came in or whatever. But yeah, you then had 2 different smaller peg colours, which you could say, you've got 2 colours right, but only 1 location.
Right.
Was it that way, or like did you have to have right colour, right?
Something like that.
It was either right colour plus right row.
Right location.
So if you put it in the red in number 1, it would be like ping, that's right.
Yeah.
But then you'd know, right, I've got to change this one until you get to the right colour. But then you'd only got so many times. Yeah. If it takes you like 8 times to get number 8, you're like, or the 2, you're like,
because it's a 4-digit code and you've got to get it spot on to be able to end the game. 10 rounds to crack a 4-digit code is without any information.
So what is a round then? Just like, right, that goes there, yes or no? That's right.
Yeah, you just keep going and it'll be like boom, boom, boom.
So they create what they think is the 4-digit code or 4-colour code, and then without telling them exactly what they've done, you got the pegs which indicated what they did and didn't get correct.
Gotcha.
Then once they've got that information, they then go another round trying to do it, and then you can do it the same. But of course, if they've changed it, which they should have done, they might have moved the wrong thing. Maybe they moved the one that they got correct, and then suddenly I'm giving them a different thing saying, you've now only got this correct.
Right.
So now they've got to go and think, oh, well, hang on a minute, what did I change?
Because they all stay there, don't they? Because you got your 8 and you work up all the way up to his... So you can look back to see what was right. And if you go, right, not right. I had red in that.
Yeah.
I had red there.
Yeah. So I'll put that back there.
Red's got to be there.
Right.
And then you're getting up and then you got 2 right. And you're like, what did I change? And it's like this one and this one. And this is my first love of puzzle and problem solving, and for my love for, doing any sort of problem solving Tomb Raider games. It was my first original...
So was you playing with family then? Or?
Yeah, family and sister, because it was kind of like all my sister had to do was put 4 colours in a row and tell me if it was right. And the same with, she can try and guess it. Yeah. She might not realise that she's always getting it right at that point, or when I was playing my mum, it was a bit harder. But it was a game that I played an awful lot because it was tiny, and it was a game I took on the road.
Yeah.
It was a road sort of... You could play it in the back of the car on the fold down.
It was never a travel game, but it was so small
It could have been
that
a
it
travel
could have
game.
easily been a travel game. You're like, yeah, the board is as ultimately smaller than your Rodecaster Pro, for example. It's really, really compact.
Wow.
And everything was self-contained in it as well, so all the pegs and stuff, they were all
Kind of
slotted in the side.
Yeah, was it like a case and it folded up?
Yeah,
Oh, wow,
folded
okay.
up
like that.
storage. It was all stored within the board itself. It was absolutely fantastic.
Ended up looking like I want to say like an old NES game, like a bit like that first original Nintendo
I know, like
card.
the sleeve sort of thing.
Like so it was like
Yeah, really, really good. A great piece of design for such a simple board as well. But yeah, just the premise of the game was
There
fun.
were mushroom pegs, weren't they?
Yeah.
So they were like so they sat in nicely, and you were able to kind of
them
pick
Pick them out
up.
nicely as well.
It was just the marker pegs that were
Bit
trying
of
to do that
nuisance.
on the road.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
great game.
I'm glad someone else knew about it because me and James
Yeah.
were like,
Yeah, what? Yeah. I don't think this was a game that anyone of my era was really super into. But obviously my family had been playing it for years. And eventually when I came of age, they got me into it. And I really enjoyed it.
If I'm honest, I think it was a game that was probably cheap. Like, it wasn't a lot compared to, like, Dizzy. So I think it was bought as either a birthday present, like when you have a party. You normally had like a $5 or something as a kid. You could spend on someone's birthday, couldn't you?
Yeah.
So it was in that sort of, I can get that sort of game bracket. And it was a game I think I had multiple of, like where it had been bought a couple of times for me,
Yeah, I think they did a re-release of this a few years ago.
I was about to ask if they were still around. Or
I've seen, in doing the research and stuff, I've seen different versions.
Oh, we can modernise it
of
very easily, like rollers,
Yeah.
dice.
and there's so many like 2-player games like that nowadays as well. It'd be weird not to bring it back for like a nostalgia thing. Or
Yeah,
something.
like,
Who knows?
I don't know if it would ever do particularly well if it came back. But I used to enjoy it, and I'll be honest, if someone put it out on the table, if I was, I'd be up for playing it.
Nice.
I genuinely would. It's a game that I'd happily still play today.
Thing was, you didn't know a simple. When you ask now, you're like, "Oh, that's really simple compared to what I've done over my life." When you're growing up, you go, "This is a new game. This is a new.
Yeah.
It's nothing simple. It was nothing like it's babe. It was just. It was new, and it was great to just play. Basically, It was definitely. It was on my list, and it was on there, and I was like, "Is it a board game?
Yeah.
Is that a board?" Like that was what I was struggling
See,
with.
one thing we were trying to figure out, wasn't it, is because there was obviously Mastermind the TV show. And
Yes.
this wasn't themed
that wasn't-
around
that
it,
was
was it? I think that's why my family ended up with it, because I think they thought it was, but obviously it wasn't.
Or was it? And the fact it was like, it's just your knowledge of getting something right. So who knows?
I just remember I remember the box very vividly. It's a very black, just a pitch black box, and there was like 2 people sat on the
One
front
was
of it.
at the post, like with his smug look,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
wrong.
yeah. I just remember that box very vividly. It's so uninspiring, yet it's in my
Still,
Yeah.
still
it's in
remember
there.
it to this day, mate.
Yeah,
in
because the reason when you get to 9, you're like, you see him picking up the wrong one. He's like,
Yeah, yeah.
like I
thing.
can't get the wrong, and you're like,
When you get to, like you say, to level 9, or you've just finished level 9, and you're just sort of like, I can't deal with the pressure. I'm 9 years old, and I feel like I need to die.
no. You're the one where you give him a fake smirk, like because it's right, and you're like,
Yeah.
he's like, oh, just stop messing with me.
Is it that?
There is a nice element of.
Especially when,
Miss.
like you said, as soon as you get to that level 10 and then they get it wrong, and you're like, yes,
Because it kind of I've got plenty of time. No, plenty of time, and then like
And then
you'll
it
get a
catches
bit
up with
more
you.
smug, and you're
last
like,
round. Huh? What?
oh no, yeah.
Brilliant.
Amazing,
Brilliant game.
mate. Good
Simple
pick,
game.
sir.
Thank you.
Chris.
So
Mr. Inglorious Bastard.
Number 2. Right, so this one is another Major Boss Games, and it is Mousetrap.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. This was in James's.
It was.
wasn't it?
It was his number
Top-
3, I believe it
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
I'll be honest, like now thinking about it, even did I ever properly play Mousetrap?
And this is what we were mentioning.
Did
Or
I
did you
ever
just build it?
Did I ever finish a game? Did I fucking care?
No.
That's just it, though.
I
You just
built.
didn't.
I built the mousetrap, and then that's what I say to you. I was watching the YouTube game of how to play mousetrap. I was like,
Now,
there's a lot of getting keys and moving bits, and I'm like,
I don't remember any of that.
no, so going back, so we didn't mention this on the Move My episode because I completely forgot, but I don't remember. So in the versions you buy today of Mousetrap, you have to build it straight away.
right?
Did you have to build it in the original?
I thought you built it as you went round, and you add bits, and
Right.
and you land on bits, and you build it, and that's what I thought it. But then I looked on YouTube, and it's already built.
Yeah.
and I'm like, this is not what I remember. But I was like,
So I'm ever wondering, was there a very older version that we played where you do actually have to build it? Because the nowadays one, like I said, is already, you have to build it straight out before
that
you
I'm
play
not
the
sure.
game.
But the whole fun of just building the mousetrap
was the best part.
Was the best part, and like getting that diver, or that where it comes off the high dive, and
Yeah. And we were mentioning that the designs changed slightly as
Yeah,
well.
it used to be the bathtub.
That's
didn't
it. The
Yeah.
bathtub's not
That's
there anymore
there.
was
now.
it a barrel or was it?
I don't think it's anything now. I think it's just a slide. It's like just a slide
Yeah,
sort
I
of thing
think
now. It's very
the
weird.
staple of that game, though, that everyone remembers is, of course, the actual mousetrap and
And
never being able
it's
to get it
sitting
to hang.
there and then eventually,
But you just go. Anybody want a drink?
you knock it right, yeah.
Well, you're just looking at it. It came down, but yeah, I remember playing this, not playing it, even with my mates playing it, not playing it. I don't think we ever cared, and it was like, and I remember either losing the elastic band or.
That was always the piece that was missing.
Yeah.
And I think
Or one of the balls.
my
Just
nan
had
had
two different balls, didn't it?
a bag of, but it was like never quite the right one.
Right.
And it was like, it had a bit of loose and like a bit of,
It was too tight. It was too loose. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, because I loved Mousetrap, but again, I have fond memories of playing with it as a toy. I don't,
this is
I
what
don't
I was-
remember anything
This
about
is
the
it.
game.
But then I was like, right, I classed it, and that's why I classed a lot of my games as toys, because even these board games, apart from Atmosphere, I did kind of set up and play on my own, you know, and do stuff on my own.
Yeah,
It's kind of like, it wasn't just a board game, I had to be playing someone.
And this is what I'm saying. When you played Mousetrap, you got to a point where the trap was built and you stopped playing the board game. It was a toy then.
Yeah.
And coming off of our era where we were watching Goonies and stuff, it's like, oh, it's like a booby trap. And it comes down and you're like, oh my God, it's like the real deal, like the movie sort of thing. I think that's what for me was like as well. So, but Mousetrap was huge back then. I mean, do you remember, I don't know if anyone remembers this, but there used to be a Saturday morning on ITV with Anton Deck. I can't remember what it was called. But one of their games part of their show was doing like a game show bit, and they'd done a massive live
like a
mousetrap,
yeah.
an actual board or mousetrap and whatnot. And I hope it's on YouTube or something because that thing was just fucking awesome.
Yeah.
That was so good. It's like I wanted to be in that after playing the game so much.
Yeah.
It was one of those, when you ripped open the corner of a wrapping paper, you either saw like the mouse or the lettering.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God.
Didn't the cat used to lie on the top of the
Lie
mouse
on the
logo?
top of it, and it was really, even the mouses were pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just remember having so much fun playing this game. But then, like I was saying, not ever really remembering if I finished it properly.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think I ever did.
And I think this is where my mum glossed over the rules so much because we don't play Mousetrap. And I could see not fucking Mousetrap. Like, because we never played it now.
Yeah.
But to me, we are playing Mousetrap.
Yeah.
We are doing it. How much fun have we had?
I'm very surprised that because a lot of more board games now. I think Jason, you own a couple to do with mice. Like, this is one of the theme and stuff of it, isn't it? Sort of thing.
yeah.
I'm surprised that some of board games now haven't gone to like that sort of gimmick as well. Like it has a trap in it or something now, or because that was like the big thing for this game, wasn't it? It's like wasn't the game itself; it was just the actual trap, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Very odd how they, well, maybe a copyright thing, who knows? But yeah.
Yeah, I just think like production-wise now, like the cost of produce, because you think of the amount of plastic that was in that and the amount of engineering that would have gone in to make all of that as well. I can just imagine like if they were designing Mousetrap from new now, you're looking at a £70+ game, surely.
Like a deluxe version of
Like,
it. Yeah.
it would be a crazy expensive game. Now, I know you can still buy a Mousetrap, but it's like it's been designed, it's been out for years. They've already made their money on it.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's missing the bathtub. It's missing.
It's missing loads of bits to
it's
it.
already
But it used
built.
to be a big hand that pushed the door. That's gone now. That's not on there either.
I think it was an axe, and I think they changed it to a boot or something.
That's right.
Something like
Yeah, it's a
that,
boot
yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, like no, you fucking axe. We're trying to kill a mouse here.
Yeah.
That's probably why there wasn't the elastic band was always cutting off.
No, but yeah, it's like
The axe.
that was. I loved that film, that game, to the point where when Mouse Hunt came out with Lee Evans,
Yeah.
I was well up for seeing it.
I was
For my love of Mousetrap.
Mousetrap.
For
I
that
was-
very reason, you've given me Mousetrap the film here, pretty much in the sense of what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I was literally about to say, I think they missed a trick by not doing a branded version when that came out to coincide with that film.
Yeah.
Because that would have been hilarious and brilliant.
Yeah, or they could have done a cartoon version.
Yeah.
They still can.
Yeah,
They still could, you know.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's just for how they nailed the colours, they nailed the branding, it's just hyper overload for a kid. From the moment you open the box to
Just to see that contraption, mate, was just amazing. Absolutely amazing. It's a good pick as well. Yeah, so it was what was I going to say now? Never mind. Anything else on Mousetrap?
No.
No?
Not all good on Mousetrap.
Nice. Right, my number 2. Right, so going back to the Meeple Minded episode, I mentioned at the beginning of this that I changed one. This is the one that I changed. So on the Meeple Minded episode, my number 2 was Key to the Kingdom. I did mention a few bits in it, but I wanted to go into more, but I couldn't remember much. So going in that episode, I've changed it for this one, and we officially said it was a card game, so it kind of counts.
Yep.
So my number 2 is Top Trumps.
Yeah.
I picked Top Trumps because they were sort of the game that... So Jason mentioned, like, you had your... Was it Go-Go's?
Yes.
Go-Go's,
Yeah.
Pogs, whatnot. I was the kid playing Top Trumps on my break time.
Yeah.
So at the time I got into Top Trumps, I was seeing my cousin quite a bit, and he was heavily into comics and Marvels and whatnot. So that's how I kind of got into Marvel, was through him. I knew of the characters, but didn't know the history of the characters. And that's essentially what Top Trumps was. It was like to do with their height, their weight, their strength, their power. And the first ever edition of Marvel Top Trumps was the superhero side. Mm-hmm. So you would have Captain America, Silver Surfer, and Tony Stark, all that sort of stuff on there. And it was so cool how, you would just literally shout out, it's like strength 90. Oh, mine's 89. So you win that card. Yeah. First person to collect all the cards wins, wasn't it, essentially?
Yeah, I'm gutted because it's literally, if I'm honest, like my longest serving game. I still look at Top Trumps now. I'm like, right, I'll get that for my boy.
And I didn't realise they still go. You mentioned Jace, didn't they? They were still around.
I'll tell you, I can still remember because I had the Marvel X-Men / ones, right?
Right.
Could I get fucking Galactus off anybody apart from Hawkeye with Weapons 49?
Right.
The fact that I can still know Weapons 49, you get, and you're like, oh, fucking Galactus. And you're like, fucking. Oh.
Right. So can we just... we were talking about house rules sort of slightly before we start this episode, right? So was there a house rule Top Trump? So if anyone had Unknown, was that the most powerful card? So if you're like, Top Trump, my strength is unknown.
Oh, I don't, yeah.
Was that the OG Trump because it was unknown? It would beat any other thing.
Yeah, it was.
Do you know
It
what?
was, right?
Yeah.
So, because Silver Surfer was like Galactus but the good side of it. Silver Surfer had everything unknown apart from, I can't remember, it was height or something or whatever.
He wasn't high.
So the only way you could beat him was through height. But going back to that, you kind of mentioned it already. So I only had the superhero side of it, and at one time it was just me and one other person playing this game. And then other kids would come over and see us playing it. What are you playing? What are you getting into? Oh, it's quite simple. Quite an easy game to play. So other kids would start joining. Top Trumps, the good thing about Top Trumps is, regardless of the amount of cards that stops you back, you can have quite a few players playing it, right?
Yeah.
So I remember going into Gamleys. Do you remember Gamleys?
Yeah.
Oh,
Anyone
yes.
remember Gamleys?
Yeah.
And there it was. All the other kids were like, were buying figurines or something and whatnot. And at the time, I was just looking at the card section. There it was. Marvel Villain Top Trumps. Right there. So when you got to bring, I bought that, and Top Trumps were cheap back then. £2, I think it was something like that.
£2.50, $2.99.
$2.50. There we go. So again, pocket money spent. I would take it to school the next week. And, you know, all the kids are used to playing the superheroes. Like, oh, here we go. We've got the villain side of it now. And like you said, Galactus and Eggman and all that sort of stuff were just all in there. New cards that everyone was getting into. But the beauty of the villain side was that you can mishmash it with, the like you said, Chris, the superheroes as well as that. So your deck was even bigger. Good God, fucking God, was this amazing. What a time to be alive. And Top Trumps, I cannot deny... You know, I just friggin' loved it. Like you said, Chris, it was like the whole part of how do we beat Galactus, or like you said, you need a certain card to do and whatnot, or a certain card to beat Silver Surfer was so great. And we were updating it, so I wasn't just buying them. Other kids were buying like different versions of these, like, I don't know, like you said, an X-Men one or something. I think the last set of Top Trumps I ever bought was the Power Rangers ones. Yep. So if he had a Lord Zed card, he was literally Galactus. He was unbeatable unless one thing was like, I don't know, speed or something or whatever it was. Yeah. So it was just, I'm so glad that they go to that. I don't think they're as popular as they were then, but they're still around.
They're still around, and there's quite a lot.
I was going to say, they went down the Monopoly route, didn't they? There's like Top Trumps.
But then I like
everything.
Is there everything now?
There's everything. And I think I had the villains and the superheroes, and I think they did a genuine mix match pack.
Right,
you know, like here's all of it.
I want those ones again, you know. I know they're probably updating them now or something, but I just want those original cards from those ones there.
I definitely had the dinosaur ones, and I definitely had the supercars. Now, being a kid, looking back, I probably played that wrong, because it'd be like, unless it was top speed, like, because it wants to be lower on cars and everything, you got to be bigger. The idea is to be greater, isn't it, to win? Whereas you want to be the fastest off the line, so 0 to 60, 1.2, and you're like, 0 to 60, 4. And you're like, fuck.
And you're like,
yes, I took out this Ferrari with my Nissan Micra.
But I loved cars as a kid, but I don't think I understood the Top Trumps as much as the X-Men and Marvel side. So I think my house rules came... If I'm honest, I think Unknown, I think I played it as, well, then he could be able to fuck all, couldn't he?
Right, yeah.
So if it...
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Was it a house rule, or was it...
I think it was either Unknown was just...
Wasn't there another one when you had 3 cards? It was 3-card pick. Do you remember that? So if you got down to 3 cards, you can choose which card would be defeated, or...
And that's where...
Is that still a thing?
Yeah, well, maybe that's a house rule, but that's where Hawkeye became such a good... And then it would be like, right, or... Then they had to learn, right, not weapons on that one, because he was easily beaten on all of his other stats, you know, strength by Captain America, boom, done.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just... Because Galactus had no weapons.
Did you ever go through the Top Trump phase at all?
I remember playing it. I don't remember being super enamored with it.
Right.
I far more remember Top Trumps of recent years, because obviously my son loves Top Trumps. He's got so many packs of them. You know, this is a really weird thing and a very personal thing, I guess. But one thing I always remember them though is the packaging. For them. Just the little deck box is like, slide it open. Oh my God.
Yeah, it was like a plastic thing. They just went like that and it held the deck, didn't it?
It held the deck. I was like, oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah.
The good thing about
not that
Top
cool,
Trumps,
really, but it's so cool.
It's like a nice little design, wasn't it?
Yeah,
simple, easy, and it was like travel packed as well, wasn't it?
Travel packed, and even if it broke in a like an Android phone way, where still usable.
Still usable, yeah.
Still usable. There's no sharp bits. It's not fucking up your shit.
That's it.
But it was one of them things, like, even on looking at it now as an adult, it was like, even on a shop displays thing, it was like, it was all built into this packaging. It was so well designed. Yeah. Because it's just sort of like,
do they still do the design now? Or?
Yeah, they're a bit more. They're a bit more like Top Trumps. What, bells and whistles?
Yeah,
you know. And I think they have everything. I like the fact that they've gone down the licensing route. And like, because that's what you want. You want your licensing.
I mean, I remember that there was specific art for the cards that they made the artwork, whereas now I believe it's stock pictures now. Like Jason said, there was one about zoos or animals.
Yeah.
It's just stock photos now. It's
Yeah.
not exactly artwork anymore
No.
now or
Yeah,
something,
look.
is it? Or
I think Top Trumps, I know because I watched a little document, that the amount of research and the actual team that they have is so in depth. Like, they don't just pluck these.
I don't just make it up.
They don't just make them up.
Right.
They are actual stats. Like, and they have all of these people cross checking it, and then they make the list.
Yeah.
So it's like you look at like I never once looked at like any of the Marvel ones and went, how have you got
Yeah.
that? So they always were pretty real, but I've gone and played FIFA and I've looked at a player and you've gone, how have you given him speed 57 and that guy speed 60? He's much faster than that guy.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like I've never been on the stats gone, they've got that completely wrong on Top Trumps. They're normally pretty bang on that unless you're an absolute nerd, like where you know everything.
Yeah. But like you said with Galactus, you know, if you're into your comic books, you know
What
he's
do you
like...
mean he's got no weapons? He doesn't need
Yeah, but you know he's OP as fuck.
Yeah,
right?
he doesn't
That's the
need
problem,
weapons
though.
because he's just...
This is it. He's a god and he's essentially.
Yeah, so it was like, the amount... And they were a lot of school trips. Boom, pack of Top Trumps.
Yeah,
in the
100%.
card, overnight or whatever on the bus.
Even just on the coach,
Yeah.
Exactly, mate.
Yep.
But yeah, I can't deny Top Trump's big part of my childhood. I'm gutted I took it out and took Kingdom out, but I think I had a bit more to talk about for this episode, so that's why Top Trumps was the number 2. So with that, let's go to our number 1s.
It's number 1.
Bring it home, Jason. Number 1.
Okay, so my number 1, as I brought up before, is people know me very, very well. I can't stand sports at all as an adult. However, growing up, I was very into football. I was very into sports in a family full of football players. So, of course, the biggest game that was played in my house, probably played more games than this game of all time, compared to any other game, is, of course, Subbuteo.
Nice.
And, obviously...
Which is
talking
kind
on
of a
audio,
dexterity game?
Yeah, exactly. No one would have seen it, but while I was talking about it, Chris, you got it straight away.
Yeah.
Full-blown dexterity game. I was terrible at it, but
it has a table presence for
God, does it.
what it is, mate.
This is on there was another one of like, I can't have it. It's not a board game. Like, this is where I really kind of like...
Yeah, I think the term board game is like a bit extravagant.
I was
Like I said,
like-
we've got card games and we've got pogs and whatnot in
But
this.
yeah, this is what this is the way that I thought it was going, and it's the way it's happened. And
Yeah.
I'm glad you said Subbuteo because I'm like,
Do you know, the weird thing is...
So would it have gone in your top 5 then if you'd thought of it?
do you know what? No, because
Right. Because that's what I was worried about, that you didn't put it in your top 5 for that reason. So
I've tried and I've tried and I've tried to play the game.
okay.
But there's just no game. No. Like, either I'm not playing the right person, it bloody hurts my nail.
Yeah.
But my God, I owned it.
Yeah.
And I tried to get it out, and like, just looking at the player, broke it.
Yeah.
But that didn't care. And I can honestly say, I never, ever once, ever in all of my years, ever played with the blue side. We're not playing. It was always the red, and it was kind of like, but I loved it. But it wasn't. Looking back, there was not much of a game.
No, there really wasn't.
There wasn't, but
the advert for it sold.
I mean, you're doing
completely.
overhead.
Advert was amazing.
You're doing overhead kicks on the advert and like skills.
and the keeper's actually diving.
I was always on
advert.
the maybe it'll change. We played it a lot.
What the advert was promising you actually got more of that feeling when you're playing like the table one,
Yeah,
where
the
you're
table.
just switching the the big
football
poles.
table is away, yeah.
That's it, yeah.
So,
You probably had a better representation of Subbuteo.
It was way more detailed than table football.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was.
a lot of my mates were football, so it was like, and a lot of them probably didn't own Subbuteo, so it was like, oh, you got Subbuteo,
Yeah.
and then it was like playing it.
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know what Subbuteo is, it's football. It's a board game.
You're like a little
We're talking about it like
UK football.
UK football,
UK football,
UK
yeah,
football,
UK
soccer.
Soccer. Yeah.
But But the board wasn't a board. The pitch wasn't a board.
It was a felt.
Was it a felt?
It was a felt, and then the ball sort of went over the felt, and it was like.
Did you ever get your mum eyeing it?
Oh yeah.
Mum's walking in doing the. Sorry, I just got to change the. No, get off the pitch, Mum.
That was the other thing, wasn't it? It was too big to play on your family dining table. So it was like you had to play on the floor. Then Mum wanted to come in and do the hoovering. It was no, fuck off, Mum.
But your carpet, it was wobbly. Yes. It was like a wibble wobble, like your players.
If you put it on the carpet, then that was the case, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, we got fed up with it at the end. It was like, right, no, we're going into the kitchen onto the lino.
So. We're talking about, like, did we ever play it properly? Did you ever play it properly? Because
I think... Like,
I can't even wrap around my head how to play it properly when I was a kid.
I don't remember the rules of it particularly. I don't remember if you were supposed to do a 45-minute half or whatever.
Were your brothers older?
Younger.
But was it your turn,
you had brothers.
Their turn?
I think it was like an easier... If I had a younger brother who loved foot, it was an easy sell straight away onto the table, and I think it would have got a lot more... traction. But
like I said, in a family full of football fans, it was easy for us to get a game of it in or whatever. But I think we probably started playing properly, but ultimately I think it devolved into fuck it, just flick everything. And then it just ends up being some mass
let's go win
dog pile in the middle.
Because you're like, all right, first to 10. And then you're about 90 minutes in. You're right, it's 0-0.
Just next goal. Next
it's
goal
like
wins.
a full-blown proper game. And you're like,
switch it to penalties.
It's like you've been in a torture camp. You got like blood coming out your nail, and it's like,
The thing is, I was playing this at the same sort of time that I had things like the go-go's. So it's like my fingers were taking a battering because, like, during the day I'm flicking these plastic and resin things at school, and then I'm coming home and I'm flicking these plastic and whatever football players around the pitch. And but
these were quite little detailed.
They were
figures,
flimsy.
They were flimsy.
They were flimsy.
They were like on a sort of like a semicircle stand, weren't they?
Yeah.
Self-writing, but not self-writing.
They were self-writing up to about a 30 degrees tilt, and if you went past that, they were gone.
Yeah,
it was like...
But I remember when it came out, we as kids were playing it as a game, a board game, a toy, if you will, wanted to.
You were trying to replicate an actual game on telly, weren't you?
But I believe there were some people that were actually using it like as a model at times, because you could buy extra teams and stuff like that.
Extra like stands and stuff to go
get the audience, like you get this audience or something. Can you you get the fans that go around the pitch or something?
Like the Skeletrix, like
the lights as well. You could get it was quite a fair.
I think if I remember correctly, they eventually upgraded the pitch so that you've got a nice sort of linen.
Because I'm not even sure. Because this is another game that I don't ever think I played properly.
Yeah, like I know I definitely didn't.
Was there any roll, or was it just a case of you set it up and you just flicked?
That's what I was like. So do you flick?
So like the way I sort of played it, we just sort of flicked it to try and score a goal. I don't know if they're in the box. I'm meant to sort of roll, or I can only do 2 flicks.
Yeah.
Or if I missed the ball, is that my go? That's where I don't think I played, because I think we were just trying to do, the all for all.
Yeah.
And I had lots of fun doing that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that was actually the way it was meant to be played.
No, as I say, I think I probably attempted it to like replicate a football game, soccer game even, sorry. But I think I got to a point where I was so bored, it's just like, fuck it, let's just play it as a toy now, Yeah.
Problem with football is for it to be such an easily game replicated, you can pick up anything and go and play it outside. I think when you get it wrong, it doesn't. That's why I don't find any football films work as a film, whereas an American football film will work perfectly as a
video game,
as a game, or as a film. But I don't get the same.
I mean, is this
so easy to play the game? It's a really complicated game to play.
I know this is like an Italian-produced game. I know it's still pretty popular in Italy.
Yes.
Is it still around?
Yeah, it's still out. It's still out.
Yeah?
You can still buy it. I'm not sure I've never really thought about it. And
I can't say I see it on the shelf of like if I
FIFA.
I haven't seen it on a shelf for ages.
FIFA on the Mega Drive killed Subbuteo like boom.
Yeah.
I think just FIFA alone.
Yeah, just FIFA. Like the moment I got it onto a console, Subbuteo never got a look in again.
Yeah.
It just didn't get a game as a game.
No. I think the Americans got it as well, but I believe theirs was obviously themed more to American football.
But that could work because you got 3-4 places to get 10 yards, blah, 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 and it works in a stop-start.
Yeah.
Football's meant to be a really flowing...
Yeah.
It's meant to be fast, it's meant to be quick.
Yes, yeah.
Like an ice hockey version, that'd be quite cool.
But then you had that one on the magnets and the sort of one. Do you remember that? It was sort of like an air hockey... You know, like
the table.
Yeah.
Like
Air hockey.
Yeah,
Air hockey.
but not like the one, but you actually had the hockey people flying around.
Oh, I know what you mean. Yes, yeah. And you can sort of twist them around, so like you did with the stick. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's but yeah, I think like I said, I can't necessarily say that I played the game properly.
No,
but I would imagine that I at least tried to start with, and then it devolved into.
Was it a game you wanted then, or as a kid, or
yeah, 100%. Like I said, I was
it's like taking the shot.
I remember like you see the keeper like
the thing. Whenever they did the adverts, even the remote control, they're going through a desert and they're going across a palm tree, and you're like, oh, that doesn't look as cool down the carpet.
No, that's it.
The way it sells it, you instantly you got the crowd.
Yeah, but they were all the models, weren't they? And which you could buy later. But at the time, it was literally just a red and blue team,
and everything.
And the refs. But then, like you said, I think the reason I stopped playing mine was the figures had broken off or bent or whatnot. So that was another reason why. I know you could buy the teams afterwards, but again, as a kid, I couldn't afford it. If they had it in a way
where it was like enclosed, and you sort of flicked it, and it went off a wall, and then the bottoms were like a magnet. And it may draw I could have had more of a skill game, like you could sort of pass it to that, but it just always felt like you never got a full game. There was
definitely no realism in the fact of almost every time the ball ended up in the middle of nowhere, that you then had to try and flick to get close to it or whatever. And
because I don't know, is that count as you move, like to move him to get nearer the ball,
something like that.
But I still loved it because I had to have it because I was a football fan. And it was just couldn't not.
And it was huge at the time, though.
It was expensive.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was expensive.
It was
expensive, and you're like, it was always one of these ones that I felt bad.
Which I'm kind of surprised because it was huge in mine and Chris's era, where again, Jason, you're slightly younger than us, I'm surprised it still sort of was big your era as well, sort of thing. Because, like Chris said, I assume not long after that's when FIFA came in and took over.
Yeah, I think really it was still big because it was obviously football it's an always growing industry, isn't it? And computer games were still fairly new at the time. So yes, there were, I believe, some football games, but they were horrifically primitive. Yeah. So they were kind of a digital version of Sabutio, but as soon as they started progressing, it was like, Sabutio didn't stand a chance. I'm very impressed it's still around.
Yeah, considering I never even knew it was still around. I'll be honest with you.
I am not surprised that it has kind of receded back into its own.
It's trying to be the Skeletrix of. When you're trying to be, you're racing, that's what you're trying. It's trying to give you the full realism of a game, and it just doesn't play off.
Yeah,
I think if you were older now and you were and you could probably have an intense game of Sabutio if you both really loved it,
and you were good at it.
You were good at it.
Yeah. I think it's sort of like an old version of Crokinole to me. That's basically what it is. So,
fucking love.
There you go.
Have you played it yet?
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, if your fingers hurt on Sabutio, it's nothing compared to Crokinole, mate.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But there was all games like that because they're all games I've enjoyed because of all of these games that I played as a kid.
Yeah.
There's all back there, and you're like, it could be like that.
This is it. Anything else on Sabutio, sir?
No, I'm going to leave it there on Sabutio.
Nice.
I think that's the first time football's ever really been brought up in a little bit of a discussion on this podcast. So
and the last.
Feel very proud.
Well, we still need to do the top 5 sports movies, so I'm sure it will come back at some point.
Yeah, but
I'm so upset that I won't be here for that.
Like I just said,
it's because he'd be selling these Pokemon cards then.
Shit. But yeah.
Go on then, Chris. Bring it home. Number 1, sir.
Obviously, it was mentioned earlier.
Is it going to be?
Yeah, it's Ghost Castle.
Right. So I didn't realise, dude. Sorry.
I mean, I could have put a caveat here in the fact of I might have done my list a bit different. Would we have allowed Screwball Scramble?
See, I think we mentioned that on the Meeple Minded episode, and I think we
sure
wasn't
we
too
did,
sure
yeah.
about it
See,
because it was an honourable mention for me. Scribble Scramble, yeah.
This is the one that I played to death.
Yeah.
So, and then I was like, is it a game? Is it not?
I would, because it's very board game-esque, even though it's not. I mean, it's sliding towards the toy side more, but the aesthetic of it is a board and trying to get the ball over these mazes.
So, like, that would really have been in there. Like, it might have filtered in, like, maybe worked it out if it was. But I didn't want to say my number one is Screwball Scramble.
Yeah. I mean, if you've got something
that's not a board game. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I've just messed up my number one. But, like, Ghost Castle was up there, 1, 2, for. This was a game that I didn't even have to play.
Right.
I used to just set this up, put the character.
Was this a toy more?
Yeah. Well, no. I played it as a game.
Yeah.
A board game, and I loved the board game.
Yeah.
But I could quite easily get it out, set it up, just put a load of people down, and drop the ball, and see what.
And just see where it come out.
Or have it out and about on the desk, looking. Because the thing was, the card was thick card,
right?
And it was built properly. It was built to last, and even the staircase, which was protruding out, and you put the little front bit, it looked lovely.
Looked the mutts nuts, didn't it?
It really did look the mutts nuts, and it was like there's not much else. And it was even a game that reason why I want atmosphere, because I kind of liked a horror game, and it was classed as a horror game. But it wasn't scary.
No, it's kids horror, isn't it?
With kids horror, and even my mum and sister could play it as a thing.
Yeah.
It was just the carnage of that ball and the way the standees and everything moved. I loved it. Even I think there's because it puts the board out, but it has a nice like wall around the outside of the board, didn't it? It didn't just roll off. It kept everything contained, and it was nice big plastic, built to last. Yeah, I just had so much fun playing this. And the advert that you see all around it.
And it was great.
On it straight away. And you're just like, oh my God. That's getting circled in the Argos catalogue. The Book of Dreams.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah, and there was, it was one of these games that, it must have been about 10 years ago. I'm sitting there, and we were sitting there, and we were going, what was that game? And you go, yeah, like Castle, and it was like, dropped it. You can never work out, and I think someone just said, well, Ghost Car.
Did you ever, like, right, let me, so when you played the game, when you dropped the skull, did you try and flick it into a certain direction?
Yeah, give it a little bit of stink.
So it would take out the player. Or, so you'd be like, oh, because you're meant to just drop it, aren't you? But did you ever, like, put it in and your fingers sort of flicked it in that direction?
In the new one, it kind of sits in a ghost.
I don't know, mate.
It drops, but I don't ever remember mine. I think mine was more.
You just dropped it.
And it went.
The top of it that opened up was a coffin lid.
Yeah,
and that was the point of it. You had to get to the top to shut the coffin lid, wasn't it?
But then even where you put it, it never come out where you. But you always try.
That's what I'm saying. So did you ever like? Oh,
yeah, always.
Flick.
Give it
I'm so glad it's not just me.
No.
Cheating bastards.
It's misinterpreted. It's giving yourself an advantage.
That's it.
So yeah, it's just like the secret passages and the way of moving from one room to another. They're all stuff that I've enjoyed in later mechanics in games. You know, so like it's half of the reason. Like
I would love a revamp of it. I know there's a revamp of it now, but like an adult version, a bit more scarier sort of thing would be.
Yes,
well, it's like a deluxe castle or something. That'd be so fucking.
I don't think I could afford it.
But this is the thing. This is what Jason said.
I think
it's like the
killed
production
me
value
the fact that
like,
I couldn't have it if they went Ghost Castle upgraded. You had it as a kid. You're like, oh my God, they've upgraded it. Like,
and it's £100.
We've made the house out of solid oak.
Solid, like old bone. And you're like, oh.
Hand carved.
Like the skull was literally made out of human bone or whatever.
Stuff was just well made back in the day.
It was, mate.
And this was real. Like, when you put it in, it didn't do that thing where it flimsied to like a diagonal, it was a solid cross.
Yeah.
What you mean you breathe on it and it collapses?
Yeah,
So, yeah.
I mean, you can get up from the table and it would, apart from maybe the ball falling down or something, but like the stuff would stay.
Yeah.
The whole house wouldn't fall over.
And even just simple mechanics like the glow in the dark was like, again, it's nothing now, but in the 80s that was revolutionary to have, you know. And then would you ever test it? Like you put it up against the light,
Yeah,
and
you
then
got
you'd be like,
give it charge.
yes,
That's what it was. Charge it.
I think I gave the description the other day, didn't I? It's like, because we obviously grew up in the time where dimmer switches were popular.
Yes.
So we always played half the game with like the dimmer
or
switch
something.
like almost all the way down. So it was like when they came out, it's like, oh yeah, there we go, that's the shit.
That's it.
This is the pinnacle of like a kids board game because it's got the novelty of you've got some falling traps, you've got trapdoors, you've got secret passages. You're giving me a sort of theme that's not scary. It's trapdoor. It's everything that I'm watching on a Saturday anyway. From
Great artwork on it and everything
Dracula
as well,
to anything like that sort of. There's not much, so it's not scary. But then again, fucking if it scared you in the 80s, deal with it.
Man up, bitch.
Grow up. Yeah.
So what you're having a nightmare? I'll leave the door open. Ajar.
A little.
So
bit
there's
of
going to be a
light.
creep of scary light coming in. But yeah, it was one of those games that I was at the right age, and like the people around me wanted to play it, and it was a time for board games, and I think it was like played it. I can still not playing it, even the computer game, not getting involved on that one. I played it a lot, an awful lot, and even just setting it up. Maybe then by the time I've set it up, I'm bored.
It was fun to set it up then, though. It was a thing. Like now, sometimes it's a bit of a bitch. But
I think I lost the ball.
To set it up and whatnot.
I lost the ball as a kid, or there was something. And,
no, you didn't.
But no, I managed to find it because it always ended up under the sofa. Mum finding it.
Yeah, in between the sofa
or something.
Mum's hoovered it up.
It was never gone, but there was definitely losses.
Yeah.
So
nice pick, sir. I'm sorry, I didn't realise you'd been number one, but
no, but
damn good pick, sir.
Yeah.
Really good pick.
Right. I'll finish up with my number one then. Straight off the bat, my number one is Hero Quest. Woo! I had to put this on here. So basically, this was sort of the board game I had before I had my big move as a child. Earlier on, I sort of mentioned on a previous episode on M.T.V.B. that I love Stranger Things, and the reason for it is because of the very first series of that is when you see the kids playing Dungeons & Dragons and all that sort of stuff as a kid, like that age. That was essentially me again, like I mentioned, with my cousin who got me into Marvel and stuff, whatnot. So when I left to go back home, I never really had anything fantasy, Dungeons & Dragons, all that sort of stuff. So my parents, for my 9th birthday, got me Hero Quest. I knew what it was. I'd seen the adverts for it. Me and Jason take the piss out of the advert all the time, don't we? Like, broadsword.
Fire of Wrath.
That's it. Amazing. And so when MB released it,
Major Bus.
I believe Hasbro released it now, don't they?
Yes.
Major Bus released it. So this game is sort of like, was it 12, 14 plus now?
Yeah.
But literally on the box back in the day, it said 9 plus.
Yeah.
So I
3
was
of blood.
actually,
Deal with it. It's the 80s.
This is it. So I was that kid who was trying to get friends to play it and come over to my house and play Hero Quest or whatnot. No one would because it just looked too in-depth for them. So this was the game that I would sort of play as a toy. And, building up the little pieces because it came with like bits of furniture and stuff as well, like bookcases and all that sort of stuff. So it was quite cool. And I used to love the whole... so around the time there was a video game out called Gauntlet. I don't know if anyone remembers it at all.
That one rings a bell.
You can play essentially like Hero Quest. You can play as a barbarian, a dwarf, or a wizard, and it'd be from top down view, going through all these mazes, killing things. That's what I essentially did with my Hero Quest board game at the time. And then obviously my mum saw me playing on my own at the time. She realised I wasn't playing the game properly, so my mum and dad tried to learn the rules of the game.
Yeah.
And they
being a Games Workshop product.
It's it, exactly, yeah. And it's one of those ones where, again, you need a dungeon master and whatnot, very D&D, whatnot. Me being too young for it, I couldn't really wrap it around my head at the time, and my cousin wasn't around to do it for me. So, funny enough, my mum got me to do a market research for Mega Boss Games. So, they got me to come over to their company and they put me in front of it and asked me questions like, "Oh, how do you play this game, Anthony? How would you do this and that, whatnot?" And I would show them my way. And again, it's not the way it was at all. It was like, again, I was just playing with a toy in front of these people. And then they would teach me, no, here's a book, and this is what they call scenarios, and this is how you build and how you play and how you set up your villains here, there, and there, and whatnot. And it was such a mind-blowing for me because I was that kid playing Mousetrap, Dizzy Dizzy Dinosaur, all that sort of stuff. So this is a different type of game, a very more complex for 9+. It was just like, I don't think I could ever wrap my head or get people around it. So unfortunately, it wasn't ever played as a proper board game. I mean, I don't own it today. I wish I still owned it. I don't think I want to get the Hasbro version of it because I've heard not very good things about it. But I just remember it being there because it was that game where I just wanted to play it to get my fantasy fix of it. I think the front cover is one of the best front covers of board game front covers of all time. The original, anyway, not the
I'd
not
even
the Hasbro
just go
version.
as far as saying it's one of the best artwork pieces of fantasy genre. Of
Absolutely,
all time, quite
yeah.
frankly.
It is just, mate, I need it as a canvas piece or something.
Oh, yeah.
It's just fucking amazing. I'm still glad it comes out today. I'm glad Hasbro has sort of re-released it to get a new generation into it. But it's one of those games where I wish I had like people today, like you guys in front of me now, who would play games and stuff like that. I wish I had you guys back then to play it as a kid back then. So I think purely for memory and for actually getting to go to MB headquarters and whatnot as a kid, that's why I've had to put it on my number one and actually get MB to teach me how to play it.
Nice.
Not that I can remember much of it at the time, but I think they even paid me as well. I think it was only like a tenner, but a tenner back in the day for a 9-year-old was £100 at the time, wasn't it? So
If you go in town, come back with like 3 board games, McDonald's and change.
yeah, exactly, mate. What a time to live in, eh?
Oh,
So yeah, HeroQuest, my number one.
Fantastic choice.
Good list there, guys.
Absolutely love that game.
Yeah, do you really?
never played it.
I love HeroQuest.
Really?
My partner has the rebrand.
I saw the
version.
rebound, yeah.
And with all the expansions and stuff that they got for it.
wow.
But the OG is just still the mutt's nuts.
Yeah. Is it a carbon copy then of the MB?
They have changed basically nothing about the game.
Right.
They changed all of the miniatures and a lot of the flavor text, because obviously the original one had the Games Workshop license. They were involved with it, whereas the rebrand one, they didn't. So obviously where you had Chaos in the original, they were gone. It's just rebranded to something else.
Right.
Anything that was Games Workshop centric, they had to take out. But other than that, they did nothing. But the quality of the miniatures and stuff is far like
The downgrade.
superior in detail, but far inferior with regards to its quality.
Oh, right, okay. The durability's not as good.
So
as normal.
yeah, I mean, I would take the original miniatures over the new ones.
Yeah.
Any day, because that was one of the special things with HeroQuest for me and for a lot of others as well. For anyone who eventually went on to the wargaming side of things, HeroQuest miniatures were the first ones that you came into contact with. So
Right.
for all of those miniature painters out there, HeroQuest miniatures were probably the first.
Was their OG, yeah.
And they were definitely the first miniatures I painted as a kid. And God help those poor miniatures. Like, they must have drowned in paint.
Wow.
So,
Do you still own yours then, or?
I don't own my OG HeroQuest. I wish I did, because it goes for crazy money.
Does it really?
The OG one, yeah. I think the last time I saw a poor condition one was selling for like 150 quid.
Wow.
Whereas a mint condition one, mate, you're raking it in if you've got them.
Lucky bastards.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I've seen copies of it floating around at the club every now and again. People come down and still play it now. The OG version is just oh my god, that looks.
We need
so
to get
good.
your other half's copy.
Yes.
Give it a go sometime,
Yeah.
maybe. I'd love to go through that.
Yeah, it
Actually
would be
play
good
it
to
properly
play
as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks, guys.
really
Any honourable mentions at all?
Good God.
I've got a few. I've got, obviously, we talked about Screwball Scramble, and
Yeah.
I had, you said Battleships. Guess Who?
Yeah.
Operation.
Have you seen the Sam Jackson version of Guess Who?
Oh yeah. There's I think there's a Marvel Guess Who now. I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
I had a game called Don't Panic, which
Sounds familiar.
You picked up a card and it had adults and kids, and it'd be name 5 fizzy drinks, and you say Coke, lemonade, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But you got the time, and it's like,
Oh yes, I remember. Yeah.
Little ping. Yeah. That was a great one. Frustration.
Yes, I was going to. Yes, so you had a dice, but it was built into the board, wasn't it?
And it never bounced properly.
Yes,
Major Boss did. Major Boss, like that frustration when it was was it 4 in a row or whatever the knockoff one.
Yeah.
Always felt like they used a cheap tin bubble.
I thought that's why it was frustration, because I got fucking
frustrated trying to roll properly. Yeah.
Do you remember Whack Attack?
Yes.
Oh, I love Whack Attack. Like,
at home whack-a-mole, basically.
yeah,
Pretty much.
And also going way back is fishy magnets.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I remember that. And their mouth would open and close, wouldn't they? Yeah.
And Hungry Hippos. Sorry, I think of that.
Yeah. So, Hungry Hippos I used to love, and I remember last year at Expo, Games Expo, when we went over to Resorts World, which is next to Games Expo, and they had the life-size Hungry Hippos in the Hollywood Bowl. You could sit on them and you would just wrenching this hippo's head.
Fucking hell.
Trying to get the balls out of it. Fucking brilliant.
I've seen there's a Jurassic Park version of that as well. Like it's like Hungry Raptors or something. It's essentially the same thing, but just with raptors. Yeah.
I'm just trying to think. Yeah, I think I'd Go for Broke.
Yeah,
was one I used to play. The Game of Life. I think we can bring up. Obviously, we said it earlier. Uno would have been one of mine as well. I think that's all I'm going to bring up, because I'm trying to do all this from memory.
Travel, which was like checkers, Chinese checkers, Ludo, and maybe Snakes and Ladders,
like drafts or whatever.
Like, what was was it Chinese checkers with the diamond, and you sort of had to?
Yeah, I think it was.
There was a lot of.
And you had like the same components for each of the games. Yeah. If you lost one, that was it. You couldn't
Connect
fight.
4 was another great one. Yeah. Played an awful lot. Lot.
Yeah. Nice. I think I've only got a couple from that, which was, I think they rehashed it in a way, Fireball Island.
Yep.
So I had the original version of that, and you've already mentioned Scribble Scramble. So no, they sent me.
Do you remember the Scribble Scramble, which was like, I want to say like a King Kong?
Yes, I can't remember what it was called though. No. Kong of King or whatever it was, something like that.
And then there was another.
You had to get to the top of it, didn't you? And he would grab it and move it around or something.
And what was the blue game? And you moved the white discs, and you had to drop your.
You had to twist it, didn't you, to get it into that? Yeah, I can't remember what it's fucking called now, but yeah,
but
I see what you
all
mean.
Like dexterity games. Like, the moment you give me something, I loved it as a kid. You just play it. But those Scribble Scramble and the King Kong, I played to death, like to actual death. Like the amount of times I played it on my own, trying to get out of the fucking maze. Like, the one where it's sealed in, and you're like, or that trying to get it up that last.
Yes,
the last bit
to
get
bit,
and it keeps
and it's
back.
flipped off the Nice, but thank you for doing that, guys. I hope that brought back some memories from yesteryear. Nostalgia overload. Before we go, Jason, would you like to do your little plug for our podcast, Meeple Minded?
I suppose I better.
Come on, that's why you're here, mate.
So obviously my name is Jason, and along with your Ant-Man, we are 2 of the 3 hosts of the Meeple Minded podcast. We put out a new podcast episode back to weekly as of a few weeks ago. So we're putting out an episode every Tuesday that's all about board games. So if you like board games, which I hope you do, considering you've just listened to this episode, head on over. We can be found on all of the podcast platforms, apart from the crap ones, obviously. But yeah, give us a subscribe. That would be great, and we will see you over there.
Please do, guys. It's an amazing podcast. Sorry,
you can't really say that now, can you?
But I can't really say that now. It's so weird now, but yeah. We'll end it there, guys. So if you like what you listen to, follow us at Facebook at the M.T.V.B podcast, on Instagram at M.T.V.B podcast, or on TikTok at M.T.V.B podcast 197. I'd be Atman, joined by
Jason.
Bandicoot Burn.
He's taking it. It's Bandicoot Burn. And we'll see you soon, guys. Bye bye.